This is Penny in North Yorkshire, making a proper post-run brew. And you're listening to the Tea and Trails podcast.
Welcome and thanks for joining us for episode 95 of the Tea and Trails podcast. And thanks for the intro, Penny. I love a brew from a teapot. Sensational. It just enhances. See, when you have a cuppa, you put your tea bag in, 4 minutes, depending on what
you're out.
But the teapot, it just enhances the ritual.
And when you go to a cafe and you order a cup of tea and they bring you a pot, and it's not just like a little pot where you're going to get maybe 1.5, it's a sensational teapot. I could just snog the person when they
and you get extra hot water too.
Then they say, oh, water, and they don't just bring you a tiny bit of milk. They're like, I see you, I hear you. I'm bringing you a jug of milk because I can see this is a 4 or 5 cup girl.
Penny's rocking a strong cuppa game. I loved it.
Firstly, big thank you to all of our patrons. Gary was worried that there was a bit of change in Patreon guidelines, rules, regulations. But you guys just rose to the challenge. You said, I'm not going to stop this. I'm not going to use this as a barrier between me and my favourite podcast. For the price of a cuppa, you can keep these mics on. I haven't got my lights on. You got your lights on today, Gary?
They're all on.
I've got no lights on. I don't need lights. I don't want to see this too close up. But many thank you if you are a patron. If you are a patron, you get some sensational Patreon discount codes over there too. So we thank you so much for your support. It's like a little gift from them to you to say thank you for being so awesome. Also, pop over to Summit Crazy if you'd like to buy any awesome Tea and Trails merch.
Thanks to our podcast sponsors, Precision Fuel and Hydration, X Miles, Phoenix Light UK. Is it Phoenix or Phoenix? Should have asked this before we signed the contract. Well, if I had like a little accent above the E.
Phoenix. C'est une Phoenix. Je ne sais pas. Phoenix.
Phoenix Light UK. And Beta Sports and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. We use their products week after week to help us train, hydrate, and recover. Patrons, you can get 15% off over Precision Fuel and Hydration. And if you're not a Patreon but would like to try Precision Fuel and Hydration, new customers can get 15% off their first order with the code T24, which is super simple and all caps T24. And if you would like to try Protein Rebel, then use the code T15 for 15% off your first order too.
Protein Rebel, I'm scraping the barrel of my protein powder, by the way. I'm in the market for some. I love that protein powder. I could pretty much have that for... It has saved my bacon when I come in from a run and I just... scoop it in. I feel good and it tastes so good.
I'm getting it from 3 angles. I'm getting protein powder, the collagen and the magnesium.
Yeah, chuck it all in. I chuck it all in. Can't taste it. But don't forget to wash the spoon, because if you smell the spoon after it's been in the collagen, oh my God, it's disgusting. You know, last week I was on my campaign to up my fueling. Yeah. Matt had inspired me and I was like, I really got up my fueling. But I've also got to train my gut more to take these gels as well. You would have been so proud of me. My Saturday was so busy, which I'm going to get into, but I came back I did 5 miles with the kids, came back in, got hold of a 90-gram carb gel, downed the whole lot.
Didn't sit finished?
Down. Nothing. Okay. No, because then I had to go straight out for my run. I tell you what, the first couple of miles I was going... slight burping, but old Eddie wouldn't have done that. She'd have just gone out and suffered and thought, oh, I'm so hungry, I'm so tired. Slam that gel down. A good tip is keep the gels where they're grabbable as well. So in my new house, I have a shelf where I can keep my gels and grab them. But God, it made such a difference. It made such a difference to my run and to my energy levels. And every single session I've done this week, I have fueled. During the session, I even inspired Robin Cassidy, because we're going running together at the weekend. And I said, you've inspired me to 90-gram fuel an hour. You ready for this? Because I'm going to challenge you every time I take down one. I want to be matching I'm basically just going to follow her around and match her fueling strategy. And she was like, oh, I haven't got any Eddie. I need to put an order in. Saved her bacon, didn't I? Saved her
15%
bacon.
off, Robin. 15% off. I don't want to toot about other podcasts, but Coopcast, it's good listen this week about carbohydrates.
Is it? Is it?
Yes, it is.
I can't
Lots of
forgive
knowledge
what he
shared.
did to the roaches. I can't forgive that. But
Yeah,
I
stay
can't-
classy, Jason. Stay classy.
Stay classy. We're a safe place on podcasts. So, okay, it's a good one because I can only dip in and out of his. I can't, it's not a weekly thing. Nobody else bother going to that, by the way. Just stick on this. Just listen to some back episodes. Anyway, links to all our sponsors and Patreon details can be found in the show notes and over at www.tntrails.com. I feel like we've not chatted for ages. I feel like
Wednesday, long time.
We've almost moved on from each other, and then we have to come back and get intimate again.
I thought I'd treat you with loads of Instagram stories though on Saturday. I
I haven't
bombarded
been on Insta. Oh, did you? I didn't even, to be fair.
I literally did all my Instagram in one day for the year, I think.
I love that. I love that. Oh, you did? Was it the egg?
Oh, no, that was Friday. Yes, sensational lunch.
And I love it whenever you send me pictures in your kitchen because you have the same tablecloth as my mum. You seem much chipper. You seem much lighter. You look better.
Well, it's funny because, we are talking now, but I'm trying to remember what I was like a week Monday. So
You were pretty grumpy.
sad times back then. But much better now. Should I go first while I'm on a roll?
Fresh, you're on a roll. Tell me all about it. How's life?
Take you
What have you been
back.
doing?
Let's take you back to
take
Monday.
me back. Sorry to go on about other podcasts as well, but there is one where they talk about the person's day in great detail. What did you do yesterday? I think it's called.
Oh, I don't know what this I need to look at this.
And they're like, so you got out of bed? Yeah, it's comedians, so they make it funny. We would be terrible at it. And they're like, and then I had a drink of water. How did that feel? Did you glug it or did you? We're not going to go into that much detail. Anyway.
On Monday, actually, in fact, all week, easy trails.
Oh, hello. Easy
Monday
trails.
and Tuesday, yeah. So I ran Monday, Tuesday, and annoyingly, that pushed my heart rate variability into the red again. I just chose to ignore it this time.
Yep. I'm with you. It's
No
enough of that.
workouts, but I just wanted to run. So easy miles for all week, but it was nice. I figured if I'm not trying to run, the problem with running Rex is there's lots of stoppy-starty stuff. So didn't really care about that, to be honest. So yeah, Rex and I went for runs every day, but I think it was just over 30 miles for the week. I did the gym on Monday.
Tell me.
Well, that was gym and home on Monday, but then I ventured to the gym on Wednesday.
Can I read what you wrote to me when I said you'd been in the gym? Because it's hilarious.
Well, I don't know.
Keep talking. Keep talking.
So I took 25% off all of the weight that I would normally lift. And I did feel really nervous going back into the gym. And it really bashed me up. And I think Saturday was then my glutes returned to normal, absolutely screaming.
So
It was
did you
sad
do
times.
much lighter weights?
Yes, 25% reduced the weight by 25%.
And you were still really sore?
The reverse lunges, that was what did it. The reverse weighted lunge.
Yeah, lunges, they are.
That was super hard. I only had, I'm not even going to give weights out because what I lift might trigger somebody. So I don't want to mention stuff like that. But yeah, it took me all the way till Saturday.
Can I read out now what you put?
Come on then.
You put, I'm off to the gym. Blah, 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 blah. And then I left you a couple of hours and I put, you hench. You replied, spend most of the time catching up with my gym bros. Laughing emoji. I still look incredible though.
She's lying. I didn't say. Well, I didn't feel incredible afterwards, but I enjoyed it. The plan is to go again this week. I flexed actually. I booked up my London Marathon accommodation, even though I haven't had
You haven't
confirmation.
heard? No, there's no confirmation. That Finnish youth hostel gets booked up, does it?
Yep, I booked it. Well, I think because I mentioned it on the podcast, I've highlighted it and it's very reasonably priced. So I booked a room, but the highlight of my week has to be a little trip to Edinburgh. Just a day. It was like, oh my goodness, it was like a ram raid, in and out. Lovely though. Absolutely shattered. Absolutely shattered. What did we do? Highlights. We saw Edinburgh University. Esme took it to studios.
Is she happy?
Oh yeah, she seems so happy. Yeah. And my experience from education is I studied art college. There was workshop studios and gallery space. Yeah, I could have quite easily just stayed in the corner there until Monday and picked up a paintbrush and see if anybody would notice. Absolutely love it. And then we did the Vaults tour. I absolutely ate my way around Edinburgh. We went to a little Finnish calf or a Scandinavian calf. Then I tried vegetarian haggis. I'm not aware that I've ever had haggis in my whole life. And when I'm with Esme, it's not always the case, but I do, if someone that I'm with is not a meat eater, I do.
That is really kind of you, Gary, because my family are carnivores and think nothing of ripping a chicken apart and then asking me to take the skin off the chicken because I don't like that bit. And I'm like, a little bit of sensitivity. Nah.
I do it. I do eat meat around vegetarians, but I'm a lot more mindful of it. So I thought I'd try this vegetarian haggis. I'm blanking on the place where we went. But anyway, it was a sensational. And then we went for curry in Mother India Calf. People who are familiar with Edinburgh will know all about this place. And Scotland were playing Fiji, so Edinburgh was absolutely bouncing.
Incredible.
Under normal circumstances, I don't think the average Scot ever gets tired of the bagpipes. But if you work on the Royal Mile, do you think that stretches your patience? No?
Something about the bagpipes, Gary, it just stirs my blood. I love them.
It reminds me, as a child, we go to Durham Big Meeting with the miners, all the different miners. Collieries would come in with their banners. And I don't know why, but a load of Scottish bagpipers came down too. So it's a real childhood memory.
Showing their solidarity. The kids' school is very heavily into piping and drumming. And the sensational, the pipers are incredible. And they pipe at like all the rugby matches and stuff. They're really good. But their cheeks are already like, and I was watching them play. They were playing... They were playing AC/DC Thunderstruck on the bagpipes. I mean, my favourite tune.
My goodness
and
me.
On the bagpipes. Mum, you're dancing. This is embarrassing. Oh, yeah. Anyway, their cheek, I was absolutely obsessed with like 14-year-old boys' cheeks. They were enormous. I was watching them going, this is a workout. You're going tempo. I can see you like, So then I was wondering, I'd like to measure your VO2 maxes to see if this lung control you have, this breathing control you have, like, are you naturally like, is there a level of fitness? And then when you see when they're older, slightly, the papers tend to, but I wondered if that age, I was like, I wonder if there's something in a correlation between the lung capacity.
Weird devices, don't they, where they kind of breathe on to increase. I think they're supposed to increase their lung capacity.
Yeah. One of my kids has suggested learning. One of them's already learning the drums, and one of them has suggested. I've got eyes on some sort of like Scottish band now, learning the pipes, and me being, little kilt, little lead singer,
lead vocalist, dancer.
Kids in the background, get in the background. Mum, this is Mum singing it. But I think there's something about bagpipes that is just.
Well, I don't get tired, but if you like I say, if you're a tour guide in the Royal Mile, 3 songs on loop, 24 hours a day, that must take its toll. People really enjoyed my daylight.
It was really good as well. The kids asked about it in the car, so I just rattled that off. I didn't tell them that I'd got it from the podcast. I just said, and they were like, really, Mum? This is really good. Come on then. Now, if you're running by yourself and it's dark and Eddie scares easy, you know my limit. This is slightly at my limit, but I have read what Gary is going to say. But
I wouldn't recommend you do an Edinburgh Vaults tour. There was a bit of chat. The tour guide was talking about somebody who tried to stay the night there. Was he part of a pagan community? I'm not too sure what it was. Anyway.
Do you want to tell people that might not know what the vaults are, what they are?
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, goodness me. So it's basically the insides of a bridge. If you go back years and years and years in Edinburgh, there was this big bridge. And inside the bridge, with all the arches, created these vaults. And it was like a underground community. Basically, poor people and criminals lived down there. Pretty, I'd say, filthy and grim.
I try and, I love history. Love it. And so when the kids are like, are you scared of, running at night on your own, Mum? Or are you scared of being, scary place? Would you sleep in a cathedral or a church? And I always say, I'm not scared of history because history is all around us. There's nothing to be scared of about history or running through. But why would you be scared of something that's gone? It's just part. But then somewhere like the vaults, and you said, Eddie, you're not scared of history. Go and sleep in there. Oh, no. Take it off.
Life was quite cheap in the
Life
vaults.
is ingrained. So tell me a story. Come on then.
Well, I've got to give credit to Sky History. It's not my normal place for researching the Murdoch Empire, but yeah, I've kind of abbreviated the story because the two guys told us this story and I just thought it was absolutely fascinating. It was a cold November evening in
Gary, it is November. Oh my God. Oh my God.
In 1827, an Irish labourer turned landlord, William Hare, had a problem. His lodger, a man by the name of Donald, had just died of dropsy shortly before receiving his quarterly army pension. Donald owed Hare £4 in back rent, the equivalent of nearly £300 today. Hare lamented his lot to his friend and fellow Irishman, William Burke, and it wasn't long before they came up with a solution. Why not sell Donald's body? There was money to be made from dead bodies. Surgeons needed a constant supply of corpses to satisfy students' demand for anatomical dissections. Surgeons paid well, £10 in the winter and £7 in the summer, and the demand was so high and the money was so good that the city was plagued by grave robbers, so-called resurrection men, who dug up fresh corpses from Edinburgh's graveyards to sell to the surgeons. Burke and Hare took the body to the Edinburgh University under the cover of darkness, and well-known surgeon Robert Knox examined Donald's body and paid £7 10 shillings for it, almost £600 today. And as they were leaving, one of Knox's assistants told them that Dr. Knox would be more than happy to see them again when they had another body to dispose of. Fast forward, they basically killed 16 people. I shouldn't laugh. It's terrible. I'm not too sure if the 16 included Donald, who had actually died of natural causes. The plot thickens. William Hare was offered, so when they got caught, basically they killed 16 people and then the law caught up with them. William Hare was offered immunity from prosecution if he testified against Burke and MacDougall, who would have been Burke's partner. Margaret Hare would also be spared as spouses could not testify against one another. Hare readily agreed, confessed to all the murders to save his skin. Well, skin will be featured shortly. Burke and MacDougall were tried before a packed Edinburgh courtroom in Christmas Eve, 1827.
That's not jolly, is it?
Well, I just think people were really, I listen to Rest is History, people were bloodthirsty back then. They absolutely loved the spectacle of death too. Burke was sentenced not just to death, but also public dissection afterwards. Gruesome. William Burke was hanged on the morning of the 28th of January, 1829, before a crowd of 25,000 people. His body was dissected by Knox's great rival, Alexander Monroe, on the 1st of February. And to this day, Burke's skeleton is on display at the Edinburgh Medical School, while a macabre spectacle of a buck bound in his skin can be seen at the Surgeons' Hall Museum. Unbelievable. What a story. Well, I just did the maths. So it's roughly, say, 16 people, £10,000. That's not a lot of money for doing horrendous things.
People were desperate, though. You know, we say this is a non-judgmental space. The guy, Hare, he didn't get Burke and Hare. So he was the Gary in this story, and he just like went,
Pressed him up.
I fess up everything. It was all Eddie's fault. And he got to walk away, and the other guy got a terrible death.
Well, someone could update me with some facts. I've not literally read the whole article. I'm pretty sure Hare
Let's
got
pull
away
some
with
life lessons from this, though, Gary. Would you be willing to go into partnership with me? And I wouldn't trust you as far as it's all part of, it's good content. It's great content.
Absolutely sensational. It just shows you like life was cheap. And even though like £600 is it's a lot of money today, but to actually kill somebody, my goodness me, they must have just been rotten to the core, those two. But would you spend a night? Yeah, would you spend the night in the vaults? Pitch black. There's literally zero light.
Do I have to, or is it for pleasure? No, it wouldn't be my choice. You'd probably go, well, is it free? I'll stay there the night before the marathon.
Yeah, I don't think I would stay.
Can you stay the night? Is that like something that people can do?
Oh, I don't think so. That wasn't mentioned on the tour.
No, okay.
I loved it. Anybody who goes to Edinburgh, go and do the vault tour. I thought it was sensational. Got a bit of Apple Patreon shake-up. I think I've read it correctly. I've shared a link in the Facebook group, so if people want to double check. But in a nutshell, new patrons via the Apple App Store will see the subscription go up. Easiest way to avoid this is to sign up via a web browser or an Android device. And I think, again, if I've read it correctly, existing members should see no change. And I'm not too sure if you know or not, but if you do join Patreon and you sign up for a year, you receive automatically 10% off. And Eddie and I thought it would be an awesome idea. If you join the Legend, let me get this right, Legend tier and above, and you commit to a year, you'll not only save 10%, we will send you out a tea and trails that are modelled by Eddie. Pop over to YouTube. Yeah, we'll send you out a tea and trails bobble hat too. And I will be retrospective. There's a few people over there who've joined for the year.
Oh,
and they'll be thinking,
you are kind.
Oi, oi, oi.
You wouldn't be going in the vaults.
So yeah,
and
I'll
if you don't join Patreon, we send you to the vaults. So it's a no-brainer.
But yeah, I'll try and go see if I can filter that out with Patreon and see who's joined, who's an active member, and who's paid up
and
for the year.
And just shout to Gary if you don't, because people do get through, but he's very good if you shout.
I love that.
We love a shout. No, if you think, oh, I should have had my buff, should have had my hat. I want my hat.
If you've not had your buff, it's probably because you've not added your address to Patreon. Just saying. That's me. Bit of history.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're back. Yeah, but I love it. Now you're going to keep this thread up. Next week, should we take Patreon requests of what's in the history lesson?
It won't be every week, but if something pricks my attention.
Yeah, I love it. My youngest, they watch News Round at lunchtime. I always go, what time do you watch it? Because I think, what time does that teacher want their cup of tea? It's about 3 o'clock. Which gets in the car. I'm like, tell me what's happened. Tell me what's news.
I would 100% trust News Round. GB News. Not so
News
sure.
Round also, it's on my level because there's not going to be anything. Yeah. They're going to report on the events, but they're not going to sensationalize them. And it's going to be Eddie friendly.
But that's me, yeah. How about you?
Oh, I'm glad you're back. You're back in the green. We can start building. And then next time after a race, just listen to Coach Eddie. Okay? Let's not do that again.
Hopefully I've learned a lesson.
No, you haven't. But it was a weird week, Gary. It was a weird week. So the kids were still on half term, so I juggled not very well. I find it really hard if I'm going to fit in my running and my working and the podcast. I just feel guilty the whole time that I'm not doing. One of them is not being done well, or none of them are being done well. And there's only so many slots that I have in the day. So I had to be kind to myself a bit last week with how I was going to fit everything in. Because the kids were here, then it meant I backloaded a lot of my work to the weekend. So I talked about going to do that race. I laughed back at Eddie going, she thought she could go off for a day. Yeah, no problem. I mean, no way. One, there was just too much going on at home. And also I had too much work to do. Sometimes having your own business is like such a privilege, and so lucky that I get to choose my own hours. And that was my own making that I decided I want to do that. And I want to be my own boss. But then also it's hard to know when to stop and hard to know the hours that you have to work, but also like in the anti-social hours that I have to work, because some days I get up at 5 to do 2 hours work in the holidays before the kids get up. And then the same, they go to bed, and then I'm doing another 2 hours work.
I do miss the boundaries. I do miss the boundaries of a normal job. When I was at Sainsbury's, when I was a student, and I put my bottle of whiskey on the shelf at 8 o'clock at night, base wines and spirits, and that was it. I do think about that. I think, would it be easier just to go back to where I had holidays? I had holidays, so I could turn it all off. Then, like last week, I could do. So Saturday came around, and I was just had to hand the kids to Brew and go, I'm going to need to work for most of the day. But it's a privilege as well. Like I get to do that, so I get to spend more time with the kids in the holidays, and then. But it's a lot of sharing, and I can hear. I can hear stuff going on because I don't have a door on my office, and I just shout, it's there, it's under the thing, it's over there. Cook it. She doesn't like it like that. She won't eat it. It's hard to give it. Anyway, so I didn't go and do the race. In fact, I hardly even fitted in my long run, but I did get 2 pretty good workouts, both on the treadmill because I had the kids. And also I really like the kids seeing me work out on the treadmill because I push hard, Gary. Oh, yeah. I push hard on that. I can see your numbers. This is hard. My goodness me.
There was some grunting and there's some shouting. And then I get them to count down my minutes. And then I can play my my music over the audio speakers on the treadmill. And so one of them can like be in charge of the music. We've got a table tennis table, which is great because they can all play, they can hit the ball back to each other basically. So they don't need me anymore, thank God, because I'm the dropper anyway. The jeopardy of that table tennis ball coming under my feet when I'm running hard on the treadmill. And then when I'd finished that second session, behind me there was like 8 table tennis balls where they'd be too scared to come near me because they know they'd get the... And a couple of times I was like, stop it! I'm running really hard. And then they start like banging the table or getting stroppy about their match. I'm like, I can't take stress. I can't take any more cortisol than I'm already increasing. So I did 3 by 10 minutes, my classic, on the treadmill, quite in control. That's actually, I found I didn't push as hard as I probably could have for that, but then I had a really super busy day after that. So I thought I can't push to the limits. Then my next workout was incredible, Gary, even if I say so myself. 2 by 20 minutes, 2 by 10 minutes, 3 by 5 minutes, all at 5%, increasing effort as I went. So the 2 by 20 was reasonably comfortable. It's just like grinding. You just get to that point where you're like, keep the glutes engaged, don't get slappy. And then you're almost relieved because 20 minutes is a long time, isn't it, to run on a treadmill when you're like at 17 minutes still to go and you think,
and what's your recovery between the 20s?
2 minutes. 2 minutes between the 20s, 2 minutes between the 10s, and then between the 5s. You know me, I like it. I like a short recovery. I just like to fire it up and get it done. When you look at your average heart rate at the end, you know it's been a good, when it's like high, I think it was like 151, the average heart rate. That was good. But I knew that I was going to struggle to get much like volume in that week. So I knew I was safe doing quite big sessions because I wasn't loading the volume lever as well. But I was pleased with how strong I was. And so I ran that last 5 minutes of the 3 by 5 minutes. The fastest, the strongest, I was still pinging. If you're still pinging, you've done it right. So,
see, normally 5 minutes would be like, oh my goodness, 5 minutes.
I know, but then 3 by 5 minutes. And I kind of like that. I'm liking these sessions of like, I struggling at the moment with like a shorter effort, just mentally getting my legs going. But actually, if I do quite a long effort before, then the 3 by 5 minutes, I was running really hard and fast, probably better than I would do if I'd done 8 by 5 minutes. And within that, I took 90 grams of carbs. So I was really happy with that. Whole bottle of electrolyte. I was like, gold star. That was kind of the highlight of the week. The rest of the week, I thought I kept pushing the long run, so I didn't get done Saturday. I did manage 15 miles on Saturday. Oh, she didn't get long run, but she did manage 15 miles. But I'll tell you how I did it. It was all broken up and it was not a good way to do it. 5 miles in the morning with the dogs, 5 miles in the middle of the day with the kids. And then the minute I got them back home, everybody inside, down to gel, straight back out again. Another 5 minutes and I was racing the sunset. I put on, I found my, we talked about high vis. I found my high vis jacket. I was so happy because I was so worried that I was going to be running around the lanes. And even just like on a day like today when there's no sunshine, I think it's a good idea to put the high vis on. Oh yeah. So I managed 50 miles all in one day, but it was pretty, and then literally I came back in 10 to 5 and I had a kid to drop off somewhere and the parent rang me saying, we're here. And it's 25 minutes away, Gary. And I was like, we're just coming.
Oh,
just on our way, just a little bit late leaving. We're on our way. Get in the car. It's still, so I put my running kit on at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and this is like 6 p.m. now. I'm still in the same running kit. I've done 3 different runs. I've had it's the first time I got
sweat
home.
Reinvigorating.
Oh my God, it's so disgusting. I walked through the door. Bless him. Bryn was like, Bryn had hoovered. That's a sign of like, she's gonna need a shower. And he was like, go and have a shower, cooking dinner. Oh my gosh. So then Sunday, I thought I'll set my alarm for 5. I'll get up and do my long run. And I got into bed. I thought, you know what? I've not got a 5 a.m. get up in me. I'm not done. I haven't got it in me, Gary. I can't. We had to divide and conquer for various sporting fixtures. And as ever, how many times have I done this? I did not prepare properly for going to an all-day rugby tournament. I just didn't really think about it. I kind of thought, I took my laptop because I still had more work to do. I tell you what, I was the only one at the tournament sitting in a marquee on my laptop between games. But I said to Bryn, I think I might just go down there when I don't have a kid playing because nobody disturbed me. I sat for like an hour and a half, tethered my phone, and I had fired off some of my best work. Nice and quiet, and it had a little heater. I was really happy. I had tea. So I took my tea flask, and there was a tea van, thank God. And the lady made me a cup of tea, and then she said, oh, you've got a flask. I said, yes. She said, bring it back here. I'll double fill it and put an extra tea bag in. Oh my gosh, does this country get any better? So I thought, oh, little cup, that's going to last Eddie like half an hour. Massive cup. But I did not plan my fueling. Oh, after all the gel taking on my workouts, everything, I'd done so well all week, and then I didn't take any food for the whole day.
Though, I overuse the word bandwidth. But there is only so much, and it just catches you up.
So there was a burger van, and I thought I could have, but I'm always a little bit nervous about the veggie burgers on burger vans. I'm like, is this really a veggie burger? Are you really feeding me a veggie burger? There was a veggie burger and cheesy chips. I just can't do cheesy chips after my student days in Durham. But then I was saved by, there was a little stall of like volunteers from the local club. The kids had made cake. And again, often I stay away from those cakes because you think, your grubby little paws have touched that cake. But I decided I was not that person today, and I went in deep. And they were like, I was like, how much is that? And they said, it's just a contribution. So I just filled my plate with cake. Anyway.
Oh, I love cake.
I love cake, especially banana chocolate chip cake when you've not had anything all day. Anyway, yeah, so the tournament, when I made friends with because I don't have any friends here, Gary, I don't know anybody. And so I was there by myself all day, and you can't, I'm not very good at like introducing, people introduce, hello, I'm so-so's mum. It's like painful, isn't it? And so I made friends with Tea Lady, and then I made friends with the St John's Ambulance. It's not the St John's Ambulance. What are they? Scottish events, something or other. I made friends with them. They were standing by, and so we started, they're always the best. They are the best fans. Very useful. We started talking about, I was like telling them all my stories I think they started thinking, we don't want to be near this woman. She is nuts. I was like, so then when they put a drip in, you're not allowed to be in the races anymore, so many times. We had lovely long, they were so nice. They both worked for Asda, and they were like, this is like, they're telling me all this. I was like, I'm not sure you should be sharing all this. Also, I'm a podcaster, so you just be careful because
it's all content.
Anyway, yeah, they were chatting away, and then there was a serious incident on the pitch, rugby. So obviously they take them very, very seriously. So they earned their money then, and then the tournament was really delayed because the pitch was taken. The poor little boy, it's awful, horrible. Anyway, he's fine. They tried to bring the helicopter in and everything, and then the tournament was more delayed. And so we didn't get home till 6 o'clock, Carrie, and I had a lot of tea from my tea lady, and not a very good diet, and there was no way then, Eddie, nope. So my long run was 5 miles for the day. That was the best I could do, and I did not spend a moment beating myself up about it, because I thought,
I like to do that,
Eddie, that is all you could do. To me, my kids will always, I might not come across it, but I always do put them first, like, even though I have a heavy running habit and financial obsession with trainers, but like, I always want to be at their sport, invested in their sport. I never want, my time has been. And the thing that I remember most about my sport is, like, I loved it when my parents were there. My parents were always really supportive, taking me to places, picking me up. I think the kids appreciate it. I'm sure they do. They might not appreciate it now, but they will remember it in the future. Mum with a little bobble hat standing for hours and a tea flask. In fact, my little girl has said, I didn't go to one of her matches, and she was like, I really missed you in your Tea and Trails bobble hat and your flask, not standing there. I must put my hand over my mouth and not make... Rugby is fine because I don't know what's happening. All I want to know is my kids come off the pitch safe. Hockey matches, Eddie's got too much knowledge, and she must not shout and be one of those parents that go...
Is it a different vibe? Hockey, different vibe to rugby?
Yeah. Oh, God, well, it's just it's all a different vibe to... I guess in France as well, probably didn't understand a lot of the French. But actually, it was just a lot of... Bryn used to be like, the language... was shouted at the kids. And then skiing, I didn't have a clue about skiing. I was just trying not to fall over myself. So hockey's the first thing that I've watched that I actually know what's happening, and I actually am my hockey coach, so I find it hard not to go, go press higher, track back. And I'm like,
but do the parents stay classy? I think it's quite common. I've never been on a sideline for a long time, but football parents, they don't stay classy.
No, there's a different vibe with the football and the rugby as well. And because the kids play football and rugby as well, like the chat on the football pitch to the way they talk to The officials is very different. The way they act in a team is really different as well. Like, and I'm learning all this. I'm in it for all the learning. I just need to, and we all know this, and I say this to clients all the time. I have a sensational client. She knows who she is, and her food preparation, she even sends me pictures of her Tupperware boxes of how much food she takes and prepares for work. And I then forward it on to people going, this is the gold star of food preparation for the day. And we all get it wrong, and we don't fuel ourselves enough. We don't plan for food for ourselves. We do it for everybody else. And then like that happens, and I come home and I'm like, there's no way, I can't. I've got nothing else in me. And if I'd fueled, I should have just taken some gels, Gary. I should have just downed the gels on the sideline. But anyway, I didn't even look at the Ds at the end of the week because I knew that I'd ticked off the workouts. So I was happy with that. I'd done as much as I could. I'd done my strength, and that's all I can ask for myself. I even gave myself a little bit of DOMS from the strength of, because I still don't have my squat set up, but I've been using
priority job, Eddie.
It's a low priority job, but I've been using the plates, and I had a new exercise to do which involved swinging the plate around my head basically, and the next day my upper thighs were talking to me, but I'd never admit that to anybody.
15 miles. If it's broken up, yes, it's not ideal. I get it, it's not ideal, but I remember, I don't know if it was her podcast or she was on a different podcast, Sally McRae, when she was hustling with young children, she'd like run to school or run back from school, lots of miles, but broken up. And I
get that from a lot of clients. You know, the long run is hard to fit in, especially in the holidays when you're busy or work's really busy.
And trail running too. Wow. Like if you're doing the roads, a long run, 2.5? Well, I suppose it depends on what your projected finishing time is. But you go on the trails, you stick another hour or two on it.
Take a dog with you. The first mile's 20 minutes. But yeah, and people worry, like, of course it's got a different training effect. The fueling, everything is a little bit different. But my God, I think sometimes you get a bit more mental fortitude from just coming in, downing a gel, turning around. All you want to do is sit down, and you don't. You go back outside, you spend the day just trying to figure it out, work it out. And so I think that almost gives you that little bit of extra strength as well. So if you're like me and you break it up, and then just give yourself a pat on the back, I did what I can, and then walk away from it, leave that week there, and we move on.
I'm fascinated by the calories as well. Was it Matt? He said 3,000 calories before he does any exercise. I think the random or the wide sweeping advice is about 2,000 calories. It just shows you
what you need. But I thought you meant what he ate before he did any exercise. I was like,
well, he did it. What was the test that he had?
3,600 or something. He had a really high metabolic rate, didn't he? Yeah. And I paid for it then Monday. So whatever I do, I always then take Monday as a recovery, even though, because the week, like that weekend was chugga full. Even though I'd go, I didn't get all the running I wanted to do, I still need Monday to reset my cortisol levels as well. I paid for it on Monday. I just did some easy jogging and my strength with the dogs, and I was just starving. All I could think about was the fridge and opening the door and standing there going, what am I going to eat? So it's not good. It's not good. And it does impact then the rest of your day. So yeah, we need to make sure that baseline calorie intake, and I should have perhaps hit the veggie burger van and taken the risk.
I wonder how much that costs. You got an idea how much a test like that costs? I'd never really heard of it. I knew of it, but I'd never really paid much attention to it.
No, but I think it would be fascinating. I think I prefer to spend my money on VO2 max testing though, personally. Get my lactate threshold.
That's a hard test.
Can you imagine though, if you got your results back and it said, Gary, you only need about 1,000 calories a day.
Well, because I've been so loosey-goosey with food, I have been trying to be a lot more mindful of what I
Have you really?
Sad times. And I'm just always hungry.
Oh, well, then you're not eating enough.
Well, yeah, obviously. I'm just trying to find a level what works for Gary, because I don't want to talk about food too much, but I just need a little bit of self-control. I think
sometimes people feel better when you're going back into that reset phase as well, is like just eating better, not less than controlling how much you're eating, but just making good food choices. I mean, we all need a bit of chocolate in our life, don't we? Do you know what I do to make you all feel better? And then we must move on to Brew with the Coaches. So in my top drawer of the fridge, which the youngest can only reach if she goes on a stool, so she can't go in incognito. I have the Whisper, like little chunks of Whispers you can get in a packet if you've ever bought them.
Old school.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Old school. And then, so when I let the dogs out at night for a wee and they have their biscuit, I have 2 Whisper little chocolate things before I go to bed as well.
You sneak giggling to yourself.
I go,
Oh, a great little treat. Esme put me under these. It's a little bite-sized crunchy. Oh, my goodness me. The ratio honeycomb and chocolate is much better.
is it more honeycomb to chocolate, or is it the
No,
other way
less, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I could add that to my top drawer fridge for my
Fun
little late night.
times.
I thought this is really bad. You're putting sugar and you're going to bed. But then I go, it's not really bad. It's really good. End the day being naughty. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks, Beta Outdoor Sports, for supporting Brew the coaches. They distribute brands like Ultimate Direction, Knockaround Sunglasses, BV Sports, Catula Spikes, Instinct Running, and Injinji Toe Socks. We had a bit of chat. There's always chat around what shoes you're going to wear for upcoming races. And I can't remember who said it. Maybe I've just imagined it, but I'm sure someone said, with Two Helvellyn, because of the mixture of terrain, maybe go more of a comfort and less luggy shoe. But then take your like Catula spikes too. It's not something I just thought, I don't fancy that. But yeah, what do you reckon? Some value in that?
I definitely think so. But I've been, last 10 years, have been on and off snow and ice. And I would prefer to run on the road or on something hard without a spike on the sole. But then if you run with a really, if you're looking for more lugs, then you lose the cushion, don't you?
Yeah.
And also they're not as good on ice, like you're a goner. If there was any danger of any ice or snow, I would definitely, like stopping to put your spikes on, you practice it. And you can get super quick at it, and you can then just fold them up and put them in your bag and your belt. Stopping to do that, well, for me personally as well, I move so much quicker over that snowy, icy terrain as soon as I got the spikes on because I'm more confident. I did Saint-Élion quite a few times, and one of the years when it was really bad snow, I didn't take spikes, and there would be people before we got to like the really tricky descending bits that were sitting down putting their spikes on, and I'd be like, run past them, and then they'd be like, as I was sliding down something on my bum, and they could just come down nice and easy. So
that was Robbo at 20, I forget which year it was. It was last time we all did Two Helvellyn, and it was super icy. And yeah, he went clickety clacky out of Ask him. We were like some Scooby Doo behind him, slipping on the ice. So yeah, definitely worth a shout. Back on track, Ian Watson. Very timely question, actually. I know it seems quite premature, but we are getting plunged into winter, and we're all going to do lots of training when it's super cold. And before we know it, it's going to be April and May. We'll be tipping up on a start line, and it'll be unseasonably hot. This week's Brew the Coaches question comes from Ian Watson. Sorry, and we got to this a bit late, but I think it's evergreen content. So yeah, some point in time, somebody will be out to do a summer race after winter training. But the question is, how do we survive in the heat after winter training? The lap in May was burning hot. How does nutrition change, and what to do when you start to struggle? I survived, but many never. Yeah, it's fascinating because that's quite common, isn't it? London Marathon, I always think about that. People come off the winter training, then typically in April, you'll just get a scorching hot days. I never really thought about nutrition. You two probably know more about this, how the gut changes during heat. But yeah, definitely hydration. And for me, I don't know about the physical training side of things, but during the day, I just slow down. I readdress for that day. I remember one year, it wasn't even hot, but one year London Marathon was unseasonably hot. And instead of going for a PB, I just jogged it in and took the jelly babies and the orange segments from the kids, and had a great day. Yeah, what about you guys? Who wants to go first? Russell? Well, Trish, wow, you've done...
Yeah, I think Trish is the expert on this one.
I've just been involved in a study on heat training, and what's really interesting about heat training, if you look at the vast majority of the studies now, and I always say with studies, you've got to think of them as bricks. So you look at them as bricks in the wall, and actually what you're looking at isn't the individual brick, but the trend of the wall itself. And generally, in terms of heat training, the wall seems to be that actually heat training has huge benefits in terms of improving performance. So how do you survive in the heat after winter training? Simple answer is you have to incorporate it into your plan. And most athletes at the top end now will incorporate some kind of heat training training throughout the year. What does that look like? Well, generally you have to have a consistent period of heat training itself. There's various ways to do that. There's some really good studies out there and protocols that you can look at that. But if I was just to break it down, basically you just need to be exposed to heat for periods in training. So in the winter, you have to basically have a set period where you're getting those adaptations. That could be, there's various ways of doing it. Lots of cyclists, for example, will train with layers and layers of clothing. Runners can train with layers and layers of clothing on as well. So that means, going out with all of your hot gear, waterproofs, and absolutely sweating. The key to this is that you need to be staying in a generally an easy zone. So like a zone 2 easy zone. You don't want to be doing threshold with that, because obviously that might kill you. So you want to stay pretty chilled. And the idea is to gradually cook yourself. So gradually get your body temperature up. You can do this a couple of times a week. Generally, the advice in terms of maintaining for heat is 2 to 3 times after an intensive period. So that intensive period might look like a 2-week period where you're doing some type of heat training every day. But the bottom line is you've got to incorporate it into your training the whole year through. There's a lot of evidence as well to say that once your body has experienced heat training, you then adjust to it quicker. In the same way that if you get heat stroke, you're more susceptible to it in the future. Likewise with heat training, there's this thing where your cells essentially, it's thought now that your cells essentially have this memory, and they will respond, and you will respond once they've been exposed to heat training, and you will respond better in the future. Bottom line is you need to do it. You need to get in there. There's various protocols out there from, like I said, wearing loads of clothes, heat training in the sauna, hot tub or hot baths. There's another protocol there as well. Lots of ones. You can have a look at that. In terms of nutrition and changes, what changes? Generally in the heat, people start to lose their appetite. There's a few reasons for that, because when you're hot, obviously you're going to sweat and you're losing lots more sodium. So that's going to change your electrolyte balances. Again, it's really important that you train in hot conditions, because actually what happens over time is when you train in hot conditions, the amount of salt in your sweat changes. So the more you adapt to heat, you will release less salt overall. So for example, if I talk about this study I did at the start of the study, my sodium levels in my sweat were higher than what they were at the end, because I had adaptations as you go through. 100%, I would say the best way forward with heat is liquid carbs. People really struggle in the heat to get food down, particularly real food. It's really hard because your body is spending so much time trying to cool yourself down. So all of your body is focused on cooling itself. It just hasn't got that extra stuff that you need to then digest food on top of that. It's really, really hard. It's really hard for the gut. So liquid carbs are your friend, and gels. You're trying to simplify the digestive process as much as possible and streamline the carbs going into the system. So yeah, liquid carbs and gels, if you try and make those your friend. I know they're not for everyone, but that's the reality of running in the heat. The last thing is you have to slow your pace down. That's a reality. If you're running in a hot environment, you're not going to be running as fast as you would be in a cooler one. So you have to be understanding of that and realize that you will cook very quickly. You want to gradually increase your temperature. That means you need to run slower, and that will give you more time at a lower temperature before you get to a point where your body says, I'm at too high a point. So slower your pace. Winter training, you've got to do heat training all year round. Nutrition, liquid carbs and gels if you can, because it's easy to digest, and lower your pace. The bottom line with heat training though is that it's not 100% a cherry on the cake that's going to suddenly improve all of your running. The bottom line is you have to have foundational fitness. So heat training will only be effective if you have some fitness there in the first place. Don't waste your time on heat training if you haven't done the basics.
Is there a protocol? So I've got my year race, it's in July. And I'm doing some heat training on top of all the other bits and bobs. Should I stop doing that like a week out, 2 weeks out?
So it is a bit dependent, but generally the advice is to, if you're doing it, let's say you try and do it all year round, have a intense period about 2 months out from the race, have an intense 2-week period where you're doing some type of heat training. I'd say almost every day, if you can, if possible. You really want to try and, in a 2-week period, you want to have, really a minimum of 10 exposures in heat training. So 2 months out. And then you want to maintain that 2 to 3 times a week up to your race. And then about 2 weeks from the race, about three weeks out from the race, you want to do another 2 weeks of intensive. So then again, another minimum really of around 10 sessions. There's a lot of evidence and different studies on there that suit different types. So for example, men and women might have different reactions or adapt quicker to more or less exposures. I'd say just have a read through the protocol. There's loads of out there, some really, really good ones, and see what works for you personally. So I know people who get on better with sauna. I know people who have had better results running with lots and lots of clothes on. For other people, they much prefer the hot water immersion. So it really does depend on you again as an individual, but you don't want to be doing it too far into taper. Heat training is exhausting. It's exhausting and it's massively time consuming on top of all of the other training that you're doing. So you've got to account for that in your training. If you're doing heat immersion, for example, that's like an hour a day. That's a lot. If you're trying to do that 6 to 7 days a week, it's a lot on top of running training and strength training and trying to work and live your life. It's a huge ask. I'd say it's proper. It really is top end stuff that pro athletes can do because they have the time. Yeah. As an amateur, it's a tough grind. It really is.
I heard a story about why male lions have such a massive mane. It doesn't make any evolutionary sense because they're sitting in 40, 50 degree heat in the savannah and they've got this enormous furry blanket wrapped around their heads. But apparently it is so they can prove how strong they are. They can just sit in this really, really hot savannah with this massive heat thing. And they're like, yeah, look how tough I am. I can do this. So the bigger the mane, the more fit and strong the male lion. And so if you're running around the Lake District with like a massive burqa jacket on, you do feel like a male lion flexing. Yeah. But hi, Ian. I just wanted to, obviously Trish has nailed it and has all the data and the science. And so I was just going to say a few things on that. The consensus that I've seen, and I think Trish would agree, is that passive or active heat adaptation has a response. They both work. And in my very anecdotal experience implementing this with my athletes, passive is a way better option. And the reason for that is that active heat training, so going out running with a jacket on, there's a cognitive fatigue. You're working so hard even on your easy run that the next day when it comes to like it's a session day, you can't do it mentally because you've already struggled like the day before. So mentally you're feeling like, oh God, another hard thing. And I found that show up quite a lot where professional athletes can do that because they get the rest of the day on the couch in front of Netflix or PlayStation or whatever, but you're going to go back to work and you're going to be on mentally. So just take into consideration that cognitive fatigue if you are going to do it with active training. The poor man's heat adaptation, like Trish talked about, sitting in the bath. Although it's tough physically, you can watch something on your tablet or scroll on your phone or read a book. So mentally, it's not quite as taxing. In my very anecdotal experience, there's no evidence to back any of that up whatsoever. And the other thing, just on the fueling in the heat, these dual fuels, they're really helping athletes. They're really showing up to help in my experience. And the evidence does back that up, but there's 4 types of sugars. Don't ask me what they are. And if you mix them in your gels and in your drinks, they just can go down a lot easier. There's less gastrointestinal distress. So look at, I think SIS call it beta fuel, but it's basically 2 types of sugars in your gels. And that really does help in the heat when it's hard to get anything down. But that would be my advice, just and everything Trish said.
It's the hydration as well. I mean, like I was losing like 2 liters of fluid in a session. I mean, I'm a heavy sweater as well. I've got a really strong sweat response. You could probably smell me from here. That's a lot. Yeah. But like, if you're losing 2 liters of fuel, 2 liters in a session, like that's a lot to drink back in to your system. It's exhausting. Heat training is hard. It's hard. It's uncomfortable. It's difficult.
Don't do it.
Ian,
Yeah.
Ian survived, but yeah, hopefully that helps someone else out there.
Might not survive the heat training if he's that could be the end of him. There's some evidence as well now that it has the same, so it can have potentially better effects in terms of altitude training than an actual tent as well. I know a couple of people who have been looking for tents, but actually heat training might be a better way to improve your hemoglobin count and will help you with altitude.
I thought that was awesome timing that question, because Trish is full on heat training. I've really loved, it's fascinating, all Trish's pretty detailed insights.
I had a look how much it would be to get a sauna, as you call it, in the garden. How much do you reckon?
$6,000.
No, it wasn't. It was $3,000.
Oh,
Which
okay.
it's obviously a ton of money. Don't worry, Bryn, I'm not going to buy it. There's more and more science backing up of that heat training is great, not just for if you're going to be running in the heat. But so I did look, I thought it'd be great to add to my training, and something everybody can enjoy, a bit of naked saunaing.
I liked what Russell said towards the end too, that if I got this correct, there's like a passive where you introduce it, like you actually just get yourself physically hotter, or this active where you run around with a puffer jacket on.
I think they have now found in studies that active training for the heat, it leads to better results than the static sitting. But I think you need to get ready. You need to do like the pre-preparation phase and not just go straight into start exercising in a full body heat suit. Get used to the heat first. And then, so it's I would look at it as a long term if you're thinking of introducing it into your training. But I definitely think that it's something we're going to see more, like it's bang for your buck, isn't it?
Well, you see, I just think the toll of that would be just too much. For me personally...
You wouldn't do the workout. I would never do the workout in the heat suit, but there's like little pockets of time where you could find where you just push a little bit, 10, 15 minutes in that heat suit. But obviously you're going much slower, so it's not training effect. You're not looking to get faster while you're actually in the heat suit. David Roach, do you listen to that podcast? He goes into great details about the training that he did in his heat suit up to his latest race. It's really interesting. And Trish has seen great results from it too. Yeah, he wore his heat suit to go and pick up his bib, like the full outfit that he's wearing the day before the race, just to psych everybody else out. Bet it smelled good. Can you imagine if I went in my puffer that I'd been training in? People would be like, oh, there's a dead animal in here. Clear the area.
Oh, I never thought. I never knew a sauna would be $3,000. That's a lot of dosh.
Oh, it's hello, Patreon.
If we could afford it, I don't think I get much resistance from Lisa.
No, that's what I thought as well. I thought I can't see anybody complaining about that being in the garden, because I had a look at. I really, really don't want to do ice baths. I really fundamentally don't agree with them. And I think, well, that means I should do it just like the spine.
If anybody's out there who does an ice bath and they're still doing it 6 months after they've got it.
There are people that love it. There are people that love it, but you either love it or you hate it. And I've talked to professionals about them, and they said, if you hate it, like anything, don't do it. Like, why do it? Because your response to it is going to be, I hate it. But then lots of people say, get through that response and what you come out the other side. But all I can think about is just being cold and miserable then for the rest of the day. No. Whereas heat, I love the heat, Gary. I'd be happy. We could record the podcast from the sauna.
Cans of lager. Oh, what do they do in Finland? They whip you with some leaves. I forget is it a birch? I can't remember what the
This is going down a very different road. Would you go naked? Would you go naked in my sauna in my garden?
Yeah.
Would you? No problem. Just walk in.
No problem whatsoever. Flexible.
Little dragon out. You wouldn't be like embarrassed in front of Eddie.
No.
You'd be proud.
If you have a question for our coaches and you are Patreon, then email hello@tntrails.com and pop the words brew with the coaches in the subject.
We'll be recording that soon. We must be at the end of Brew with the Coaches. It's coming up in the next couple of weeks, our recording session. So if you've got them and you want them to be answered this year, get them in now. This week's main interview is sponsored by X-Miles, the one-stop kit and nutrition shop. Thank you, X-Miles. They've sent us a little drop bag of goodies each, and so we just pick something out at random to talk about to let you know what the sort of things they have. You can hear the rustle of my protein bar. I've not eaten it. I cannot wait. And I got it out, and Gary said, I really wanted that, but I gave it to you, Eddie. Oh, that's love. Striker, it's a protein bar. So... bar, sea salted caramel, vegan and gluten free, 15 grams of high protein, high carb ratio, 3:1, 45 grams of carb. Now, I've not eaten it, but I'm going to eat it this weekend when I do my mega long runs. I'm here for a product of which I can just grab and go and sit in my bag or sit in the other place, great secret place I have by the driver's little car seat. No kids go in there, and I must have snacks in that. This is the sort of thing you eat after a session, after a gym session, or when you finished your long run, you've got to drive home. If
I didn't have massive food fatigue, I could probably eat that at a checkpoint too if I was going to take 5 minutes there, because you get the carbs and the protein mid-race. Yeah, I could see
45 grams of carbs. I would eat it now. I'm quite peckish, but I want to save it because I've only got one.
I'll be drooling.
Anyway, this week, what an interview this week. You guys are going to enjoy it. Here's our chat with Victoria. This week, we are so thrilled and excited to welcome, can I call you yarn expert, Victoria Magnus, to the show? If you like. We've gone deep dive. Gary's gone deep dive because, by the way, if you ever do come on the podcast, we will do a full credit and background check on you. And but Gary's found. So Victoria, I think we could call you the OOOOG of the podcast. You have listened to us. Oh my gosh. You followed both Gary's and my journey for a long. You know more about us than we totally know ourselves. But we pulled up this post that you popped on Facebook. So we thought we'd start the podcast with that.
What did you say?
Oh, what did you say? Eddie, I love you so much. No. I went to Parkrun in May 2019 asking if it was okay to walk because I have a permanent back injury, so can't run. I did the Lakeland Trails 55K last year and have hopefully got a couple more 50Ks lined up this year. Anyone else an accidental runner? And we just loved that post and the slippery slope that Parkrun was into your running. So that was back in 2019. Tell us just a little bit, how is your back?
It's fantastic now. Yeah, so the backstory is that back in 2002, I think it was, I fell off a horse, went flying over the front of it, off a jump, and injured my back. And it's one of those things that I remember as clear as day. There's so much that's disappeared into the depths of my memory and it's gone, but I remember that so clearly. So I was a teenager, I think I was about 16. We're brought up with this thing, aren't we, that you must get back on the horse. So I literally did. So I was knocked out, came round, pretended everything was fine, and insisted on getting back on the horse, which probably did more damage than the injury. Got back on the horse, carried on with the lesson, eventually finished it in a lot of pain, got off the horse, managed to hobble over to the bench, sit down, waited for my mum to come, and then it was like, I just couldn't move. It was horrendous. I think I thought I'd maybe get told off for doing something stupid. I don't know, but I hid it. So managed to get home. I remember going home in the car, and I remember trying to get out of the car and just being like, oh, okay, something's really wrong here. Obviously, I was in a huge amount of pain, but it was like, yeah, something's really wrong. And then I couldn't step up the step back into the house. To be honest, I don't remember anything after that. It was just kind of like, okay, injured. And I think just kind of rested it. And then after a while, it was not improving. Anyone with a spine injury knows how debilitating it is and how painful it is. So eventually did go along to hospital. They x-rayed it, and it was funny because I remember arriving at the hospital and getting into a wheelchair and my mum pushing me along the corridor. As usual, they had nowhere to put me. This is like 20 odd years ago. They had nowhere to put me. They wheeled out a bed into the corridor, and I remember this nurse going, right, hop up on the bed then. And I'm like, I'm in a wheelchair. And my mum was like, how does she expect us to get you onto that bed?
So what was your mobility like, Victoria? At this point, you've kind of lived with it for a little while, then you've gone to hospital.
Not a lot. It was more the pain level than the actual mobility, I would say. From what I remember, my memory is very sketchy. There's just a few standout moments. I think you bury these things so far in your memory, don't you, that you can't revisit them even if you want to. Anyway, I had an x-ray and it just showed bruising and I was sent away. That was that. And then again, I can't really remember how it came about, but the pain went on for a long time and I was trying to get through school. I didn't have any mobility aid or anything. And it, obviously, in hindsight, it really should have done, but just nothing, and was in severe pain every single day. Eventually saw a private, it was an osteopath that I think my mum had heard about. And she was like, okay, right, there is something really seriously wrong. We need to get you down for an MRI. This was about 3 years later.
3 years?
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
I was late to the party on that.
This is like GCSEs, the whole lot. Went for the MRI. And again, this was it's a real standout moment. And I've actually dug out what the consultant wrote me. So I had the MRI, and they don't do it these days, but in those days, and like I say, this is 20 plus years ago, you had your MRI and then you had your appointment with the consultant straight after. And he was this older bloke with a very brisk manner, and I was, sort of 17 at this point, in a huge amount of pain. All of my activities had come to a halt, all that kind of thing. So he just said, I reviewed Emma, that's my first name. I go by my middle name. I reviewed Emma with an MRI which shows a definite disc prolapse of L4 and 5, pressing on her L5 nerve root, causing a problem. She also has degenerate dehydrated type discs of the lower 3 levels, which I was able to point out to her today with the MRI. She is now going for formal physiotherapy here at the spinal unit, and if that fails, I will give her an epidural injection. We discussed activity with her. She can't sit upright as it hurts her. She could swim on her back, which would be good exercise, and maybe also cycle. I have told her not to walk too much as it tends to aggravate her problem. Yours sincerely, go away. And also, I really found that being in my teens, everybody just dismissed me. Obviously, I don't know what it's like now, but it was like, you're young, you can't possibly be injured. It's really weird. I don't know why that would even be a thing. But anyway, I did get referred for a bit of physio, and I remembered this last night. The physio was traction, where they stretch you.
Oh, this is just like something from Princess Bride.
I mean, what more can you say about that?
Oh, Victoria.
And he said to me in the appointment, you've got the back of an 80-year-old now. You'll be in a wheelchair by the time you're 40.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry.
Oh.
And sort of me and my mum looked at each other and we were like, oh, what a prize plum.
Oh, your mum sounds fab. That's exactly what you need your mum to go, I'm not accepting that.
She brought me up as a single mum. She, strong, independent woman. She was just kind of like, oh, dear, I sort of turned around and I said to him, well, if that happens, I shall take up wheelchair rugby. And so be it.
What a woman.
I walked out of there with it in my head that I wouldn't let this stop me. But I have to say, it did. It did. Because although I didn't want to believe him, I was living with severe pain every single day. And it makes you think, I can't do anything because I'm in this much pain.
Yeah.
Before that, I had been very outdoorsy, I would say. I would never sport.
You're a pony girl.
I was a pony girl. Yeah.
But I'm sure that really helped, because if you're young and you've got a horse or an animal that you have to look after, and you're riding as well, makes you strong. It makes you resilient and a bit fearless and a bit crazy.
Probably. Yeah. So I was not sporty at all. My background is not at all sporty, but very outdoorsy.
Yeah.
So we lived in Lancashire, so like an hour south of the Lake District. So we would be dog walking and hiking in the Lake District every single weekend. That's how I grew up. It was all about the dog walking and the hiking. And I was also in Brownies Guides and Rangers and did a lot of outdoorsy stuff with them. And I absolutely loved it. So that was what I was all about. That's the back injury. And I lived with that as it was for 17 years with no help, nothing. Sort of tried, you try various things yourself, but at the end of the day, I was living with severe back pain and sciatica every single day.
Oh.
And were you in pain when you went to that first park run?
So
yeah, we need, because I'm pretty traumatized by this. So can we?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, no, I know it's a lot, but I like the fact I know the ending. It's like a film. Yes, it's happening. It's going to get good. So we're going to change. Let's do a key change of the music.
Not quite.
Not quite. Oh God. Okay, right. I'll take a sip of my tea. Keep going.
Sorry.
No. It's incredible.
Yeah, it got worse before it got better. Then there's the whole PCOS thing, polycystic ovary syndrome. I mean, I got diagnosed in my early 20s, I think it was. And again, I had some terrible consultants. I had one tell me to stop eating biscuits.
Are these all men as well? We literally had 2 men initially.
I hate to say it, but yes, they were. Yeah. They were. I hate to generalise, but yes, they were. So there's that whole thread as well of the PCOS. There's the back injury. There's the starting my own business. I started that in 2011. And I wanted to work for myself so that I could manage my injury. Fast forward to 2016, I think it was. We've been doing a yarn festival. I mean, this is so stupid, right? But I was carrying all these really, really heavy boxes upstairs, heavy wooden boxes full of yarn. It was a really stupid thing to do. Bearing in mind, at that point, I was still very, very injured and very much in pain every single day. Anyway. As you just do, you get on and you just do things.
You do if you're you.
It normalises. It's really crazy that you could be really suffering, but that becomes normal for you.
Gary wouldn't be. Gary would be in some sort of...
Cheers, Eddie.
In the intervening years, several times a year, my back would flare up that what I now know to be as prolapse discs. So I had the daily back pain and sciatica, which I lived with every day. And then every now and then I get the prolapse discs as a kind of flare up is how I would describe it. Obviously, if anyone's had prolapse discs... I've had one. It's worse than anything in the world. It's really bad. It got worse. So I carried all these boxes upstairs. My back went. I thought, well, I'll just lie down on my bed. Yeah. Right, okay, fine, yeah. I don't know why, but I must have been in an awkward position and I was like, I really need to move. But I was really struggling to move because, as you'll know, it's quite hard to actually move. Yeah. And I thought, well, it's already excruciating. It can't possibly get worse. I'm just going to force myself to move. Honestly, if you think prolapse discs are painful, the pain of presumably pulling muscles where the prolapse discs are, it's another level. Honestly, I felt like I'd been set on fire. It was just neck level, and I sort of flung myself down on the bed, felt this, but it went into spasm. So I had prolapse discs and then my bloody back was spasming as well. I couldn't lift my head. I just was I was sort of lying there gripping, I think it must have been the duvet, and just hoping that someone would find me and knock me out. So
when you're completely on your own in the building?
I was completely on my own.
Oh my goodness, Victoria.
Yeah, it's horrendous. Eventually, and do you know why I didn't call an ambulance myself? Because we were in a rented house and I didn't want them to batter the door down. I messaged my other half and said, I need you to come home. I'm upstairs, I need an ambulance. And then had to wait for him to get home. He came home, called an ambulance, and I was on the phone to the ambulance and I was just like, I don't know what you can do, but I just need help. Anything. Knock me out. Anything. They had trouble, side note, they had trouble getting to me because of parked cars. and I had to wait an extra maybe half an hour because they couldn't get through to me. So, side note, don't block off emergency vehicles, please.
It won't, unfortunately, Victoria, it won't stop them. I see horrendous parking. My God, every day, it's shocking.
I know. So they arrived, the paramedics, oh my God, they were amazing. You know, I often wonder, do they know how much difference they made to my life? Because they really did. So they got me on gas and air and managed to walk me out of the house.
Gas and air's incredible. I think I went through about 14 tanks when I had my kids.
It's the best. They got me along to, I think it was Leeds General. My God, that was a bumpy ride. So I was on gas and air and I was on morphine and I still felt every single bump.
When I did my disc, I was 3 days into Cape Wrath Ultra and they had to get me out of a field in the ambulance and they couldn't give me morphine because I was so dehydrated. So my blood pressure was really low. And she just was like, she just held my hand. She was like, this is just going to be, I'm really sorry. We're just going to drive. And I still remember the big guy. And he was just driving, looking back going, oh, I'm so sorry. I was just silent because they were like, you're right. And I was like, I can't, there's no words for this pain. So I'm feeling, because that pain I had in my back and I couldn't move for a week. I lay in a hospital bed for a week. And the doctor came and said, you can go home if you want. And I said, but I've got a catheter in and I can't move my legs. It was the worst pain. It takes over your whole mind.
I can't imagine it. I literally
can't even imagine it because you literally can't move like a muscle without. It is so. I'm just feeling, and mine was like must have been is nothing compared to yours, Troy. So I'm just feeling pain. Right? Okay. We've got the paramedics. Thank goodness they're taking you out. Somebody's going to help you.
Hospital paramedics amazing. I had to shout at a nurse to not move my legs.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I had quite a bad time in the hospital. They wheeled me into a room eventually, which was fantastic, but left me. And obviously all the painkillers ran out. It was like 2:00 in the morning. And every time a shadow walked past the door, I was shouting for help.
Yeah.
Because they'd also left, the ringer thing. They left it out of reach.
Oh, goodness me.
So I was shout literally every time I saw a shadow.
Yeah, I do remember. I remember the same, being like, just help, I need the drugs.
Please give me drugs. Anyway, eventually, I think it was a doctor came, 5:00 in the morning and said, right, you can go now. Like you say, how? I can't move. So that was quite a traumatic experience. I did manage to get out of hospital quite quickly because I knew from previous experience, the quicker you get moving with a prolapse, the quicker it recovers. It's so hard, but just pushing through. Give it a rest, yes. And then as soon as you can start pushing it, you start pushing it just gently. So I did get out quite quickly, but after that, I was really traumatized by it. I was having panic attacks and flashbacks. Spoiler, I still have. But I was just like, okay, I've got to change something. So that then prompted me to decide I was going to try and lose weight. At that point, and this is relevant, I'd probably say I was size 24 maybe. So I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to have a go at losing some weight. Joined a fat club. And I'm as cynical as everybody else, but you've got to find what works. Yeah. And it worked for me. So joined Fat Club, and then I also started a Pilates class, and it was someone local there'd been like a waiting list, so I'd had to get on a waiting list and get into the class. The combination of the two definitely helped. I was still in pain every day with just backache and sciatica, and then the next thing I thought, well, this is going okay. I've still got my back injury. I don't even know how I became aware of it. I said to my other half, right, I'm going to go and have a go at Parkrun and just walk it. I'm going to up my exercise a little bit and my mobility and see if I can improve a bit more. So as you sort of said earlier, went along to Parkrun, said to the event director, is it okay if I walk? I can't run, I've got a back injury. And she's like, yeah, of course you can. I mean, we all know, I know now, walking is more than welcome at Parkrun, isn't it? But walked it, and people were running past me, and I was like, oh, I want a bit of that.
Too right, you did.
Where did that even come from? I have no idea.
Did you find a community at Parkrun too? I think that's one thing I do quite often. Yeah.
I did. They were so lovely. Following that, so that was in May 2019, and I just took it upon myself to start jeffing. I didn't even do Couch to 5K. I'm sure I must have been aware of it, but it never crossed my mind to do it. So I went down to the playing fields where our Parkrun is. That first Parkrun, I found walking 5K. It took me out for the whole day.
Yeah.
But I was knackered. The jeffing started with obviously a lot of walking. So I would kind of like run, I don't know, like 50 metres or something to the first tree, and then walk to the bench, and then run a little bit to the next tree, and then walk to the bench. So I just started doing that 3 times a week. Honestly, God knows why. I just did.
Well, it's perfect. Just brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know what motivated me to do it, but I just did. So obviously, you gradually run more and more. So then I changed my tactics to run until I felt like I was dying. And then
That's what I do every day. That's my
It's an interval session, yeah.
and then walk until I'd recovered enough to run again. And just did that.
Yeah.
And you've been going to the same Parkrun every week still? Or?
Yeah, I did. I carried on. And what I found with my bag was that it would start out like really seized up and really sore. And then usually by the end of the 5K, it would have loosened off, which I thought was amazing. But like there were some weeks where it didn't loosen off and it was really, really painful and I couldn't complete it. So then I would come home and rest and go back out at like 6 or 7 p.m. down to the same playing field and try again. And usually on the second attempt, it would be fine. And after a few months, I suddenly realised that initial soreness had gone. And I was still doing Pilates sort of once or twice a week at this point as well.
So when did it start? When did you step off the Parkrun train and go, oh, maybe, is there a little bit further I could go?
They had our local running club doing their Couch to 5K, and they have their like graduation thing at Parkrun. It's so serendipitous, it's unbelievable. But they happened to be doing that on a week when I was ready to go and try the full 5K. They saw me and I must have started chatting to some of them, and they were like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm going to have a go at my first 5K. I've just been jeffing. And they're like, join us, we're doing the same. And this is our first full 5K. So I did. So I just did it with them, and they just co-opted me into their group.
I love this.
And I did it with them, and that sense of camaraderie was, wow, what have I stumbled upon here? I think it was one of their coaches was with them. And she said, oh, why don't you come along to Wetherby Runners? And I was like, I can't join a running club. Like, I can barely run. And she's like, no, it's fine. This group is part of the running club. Come along. So that was on like the Saturday. And on the Wednesday, I went along to the running club. And I remember sitting outside on the bench, like waiting to go in at the right time. And honestly, I felt sick with nerves. I'd never done anything like that in my life. There was a coach there called Chris, who deserves a lot of credit. And I do hope that he will see or hear this, to be honest. And he was like, I'll take you out for a steady run. That's fine. It doesn't matter how slow you are. So I went out and did 10K.
So you did your first 5K on the Saturday, and then Wednesday you were like, yeah, got this. What's this?
And it was trail-ish, I would say. And really the rest is history. But he happened to mention to me about this thing called Hardmoors. And I was like, I like that name. I'm going to have a look at those. Just something about it made me go, I want to try that. That sounds really fun. I signed up for a couple of Hardmoors in late 2020. Of course, they were eventually cancelled, but that just set me on this path, because I then joined the Hardmoors Facebook group, And I think it was there that I discovered John's original podcast. And of course, it was lockdown 2020. So I was full on with the running bug by that point. So I was running 3 times a week on my own, enjoying my long runs on the weekends. Obviously, races cancelled, so doing virtual things. I discovered this podcast, John's podcast. That set another ball rolling. So I was watching that kind of religiously because I was working at home on my own in that, 2020 and 2021. There was an interview. In fact, I tried to find which one it was yesterday. I think it was a Mark Laithwaite interview. I'm sure it was him that said we should do things that challenge ourselves, something to that effect. But for some reason, it struck me. I watched that in 2021, I think it must have been, whilst recovering from foot surgery, which basically took out the whole of 2021 for me. That got me signing up for my first ultra, which was the Lakeland Trails 55k.
That's quite a spicy 55k.
Oh yeah. It's spicy. Oh my God. Because I do remember being sat in the garden in the glorious sunshine, having watched this podcast, and then getting the email newsletter from Lakeland Trails saying entries open. And I just went, I'm doing it.
Why not? Yes.
Enter.
I signed up and that, so that was my first ultra.
Serendipity, you're right, yeah.
I really, really was. It's happened so many times as well.
Did you then carry on training yourself, or did you seek out a coach?
I'm coached by Kim Cavell, but I should have checked this. I can't actually remember when I started with her.
It's been a while. It's been a journey.
It's been a while, and I can't remember whether it was before that ultra or if it was after that one. I think it might have been before. No, it must have been before because I was training with my friend who I also managed to rope in.
Good. Always better to suffer in company. Yeah.
Exactly. I remember sort of saying, I think we're due to do like 2 hours this week. Do you want to come with me and stuff like that? So I know I must have signed up with Kim before that.
So what's the route? 55k in the lakes. It could be your location is quite near the moors, so you are fortunate. You've got some trails, but nothing, like the potential climbs in the Lake District.
So it starts from Ambleside and goes up over Kirkstone Pass.
Okay.
Up the steep side, obviously. Yeah. We thought we'd have like a lovely long 10k run back down into Patterdale.
Oh, no.
But no. You're picking your way down over all the rocks, aren't you? Because you're not on the road. Of course you're not. Yeah, down to Patterdale and the first checkpoint. What's just round from Patterdale?
Oh, Glenridding or Howtown. Yeah.
Glenridding. And then you head back up out of Glenridding and over Grisdale.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, Grisdale Tarn. And then... Yeah,
it was a blazing hot day. It was about, 25, 28 degrees. It was really unusually hot. And you're very exposed out on that hillside. It gets quite steep up at the top. You're kind of up and over rocks. And then it's a steep drop down, actually, down the other side.
Yeah.
Think, I'll be able to run down the other side. But actually, when your toes are smashing into the front of your trainers...
Yeah.
You really can't.
I love this chat now. We've gone from you were trying to go round the benches in the playing fields a few years ago, and now you're smashing your toes going down the descent.
I mean, this is how it goes, isn't it?
I mean, you're in the right place here now. You're with your people. How is the back now? Is it? I'm not going to say are you symptom free, but presumably you manage it.
No, I am. I'm symptom free. So what I've found is that as long as I keep running, particularly the combination of running and Pilates seems to keep it the happiest. Quite honestly, even walking doesn't do it. There's something about the movement,
the impact,
that keeps it happy. So I run 3 times a week. I usually go to the gym twice a week. Obviously, dog walk. Still do Pilates, but I don't go to my class. I just really struggle to fit everything in because I work long hours as well.
Yeah. Can we just deep? I love the story about the back and the running, but I'm really interested in the yarns as well. Is that what's hanging up next to you?
Oh, well, that's a crocheted.
It's the most beautiful colours. It matches your hair.
So is this one of your patterns too? If you went on your website,
Actually, I've not published it yet. I'm due to.
Oh,
Publish
I
it.
love it. Look, I love all
sneak
those
peek.
colours. It's
I don't
very.
think but it's sparkly.
Oh, I can't see the sparkles.
Come out all that well.
It's very on trend. That plum. That's what Kate Middleton was wearing.
I
Very.
don't know. I'm not that up to date.
but how would you get into yarns? I'm fascinated.
Oh God, this is another long story, Gary. All of
Right.
it is a long story. So I went to uni to do architecture. Hated it. Stuck it out for 4 years, but whilst
Oh gosh, that's a long time.
oh yeah, I mean that was an ultra. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But while I was there, I taught myself to knit and crochet because we were in the same building as the textiles group.
Oh, and did you walk past going,
Yeah.
guys, got to go and build these houses?
Oh, if only it was, yeah.
Yeah, I realise there's a lot more. Don't come at me, people going, Eddie, anything's architecture is building houses. Yeah.
But yeah, it just piqued an interest. So I taught myself to knit and crochet and sort of all the fibre crafts. Dropped out of uni, bummed about doing different part-time jobs, still struggling with my back. I moved to Manchester to be with a previous partner, which went very south. Then moved up to Cumbria on my own and destitute. Set up a business using the local library computer. The first winter I was on £10 a week for food and fuel and everything. That's how skint I was.
Yeah, it's scary.
Pushed through with the business, built it up, got my internet connection, which was a good help. But I'd always wanted to be self-employed, basically. I'd always wanted to, that was all I wanted, just to be self-employed. As we may have mentioned, authority doesn't wash that well with me, which is bad, I know it is, but I'm just really independent and I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to do my own thing.
Do you not find it really lonely, Victoria? I love being self-employed, and I never realised when I left working for the man how lonely it would be on my own all day, every day, 24/7.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, okay.
I do actually have staff, so I do have people in sort of a couple of days a week. But no, I love it. I love being on my own. I have the radio on. I have the radio on like all the time.
Yeah, that's what I do too. I have the radio on or a podcast. I have noise in the background, but I'm very happy on my own. Sometimes my husband rings me in the evening and I go, blah, 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 blah. He's like, have you not talked to anybody today?
Well,
Not
this is
talked
me
to
in the
Gary?"
postie in
And
the
he's
Amazon.
like, yeah, and delivery men must have a note on my door going, she chats.
Yeah, don't get her going.
Don't
Ring
get
and
her
run.
going. Ring and run.
But all these stories, Victoria, they're like lots of traumatic stuff has happened, like personally, and the obstacles with the business, and they're both all stories of, you know what, that's not good enough. I'm gonna succeed at this. Like truly inspiring. With 2024, we're quite late in 2024. Any plans for 2025?
So 2024 has been a really, really good year running wise. I also have had this fight with PCOS going on through my life. Finally, last year, I got on medication for insulin resistance. So obviously I'm not a medical professional, so I won't go into it. People can look it up and stuff like that for proper information. But my experience is that I got on the medication late last year and it was absolutely life-changing. The past couple of years, I trained for my ultras, often having periods every 10 days.
Oh, how awful.
And I had to get through training with that. It actually started after I had COVID. And I know quite a lot of other people are saying the same about their periods after having COVID, that they've become really regular. But obviously, when you've got PCOS, you're like, is it that? Or is it something? It could be perimenopause. I've no idea. Oh, God, that was a challenge. It was a real challenge. Fast forward, late last year, got onto medication, like I say, for the insulin resistance. And it was totally life-changing. It was like, I've got so much more energy now. I just feel like myself. I feel like this is what I've been missing out on. It's amazing. But it was a real fight to get it. I changed doctors' surgeries, went through multiple doctors, because generally, I mean, what I found is that when you go to a doctor and you've got PCOS, they're only interested from a fertility point of view. They generally don't believe you when you say, I'm trying to train for an ultra marathon and these periods are really getting in my way.
I think this is the problem. And Gary, you and I talked about this the other day, didn't we? When you were like, I need antibiotics, but I just run 100 miles, because we don't make a lot of fuss as endurance athletes, because our whole being is about suffering. Like, we're good at suffering. We enjoy almost the suffering. We just want the drugs if we need them, and they will go away. When you go through the medical professionals, you're like, yeah, I've got a prolapsed disc, but I can still run hundreds of miles. And they're like, no, you wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to if you're that. And you're like, yeah, no, I can. It's amazing what you can do. It's like a different breed of person, isn't it?
I had a particularly bad phone call with a doctor who I really should have complained about, and I never did, and I do wish that I had done. It was, weirdly enough, it was the day that I had my foot surgery. So I had surgery for Morton's neuroma.
Oh, yeah.
In 2021. And I came back from the hospital to a voicemail from this GP who I'd never met, asking to ring him back. So I rang him back. I think I must have been high on painkillers, because I wouldn't normally. And he said, where were you earlier? I said, I'm just home from hospital. I've just had foot surgery, and he said, oh, well, you're here now anyway. This is on the phone. And I sort of said, what's the problem? And he said, well, I've just been having a look at your BMI. You're morbidly obese. I was roughly a size, I would say 18 at this point. You're morbidly obese. You need to come in and join our weight loss program. And I said to him, I run 3 times a week and I'm doing an ultra marathon next year. Like, I'm the fittest and strongest I've been probably ever. He just literally didn't believe me. He just did not believe me because of my BMI on a piece of paper. Well, not even a piece of paper. He just couldn't conceive of it. He threatened to withhold one of my medications, which I later realised is illegal. So hence really should have complained, but I didn't. Anyway, I changed surgeries after that and
good.
Went to a different doctor. But, in hindsight, you're just like, wow, are you kidding me?
So 2024 has been a bit rocky, but
yeah,
2025, we've got a list. Gary's found a list of things you've entered.
London Marathon, Punk Panther, Ultra Unique.
I
told you. If you come on the podcast, the background
Yorkshire
check
Wolves Way too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did London Marathon this year. God, I entered on a whim last year, having said I'll never do a road marathon.
Was it a charity place? Sorry, a ballot place?
No, it was a ballot place.
Oh my goodness!
I've never met anyone that's got in on the ballot ever.
I just entered on a whim, thinking there's no way I'll get in, and I couldn't believe it when I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to run it now.
So as a trail runner, I love the solitude. But then I get a rush from the crowd, especially a race like London. How was that for you?
So I haven't really been able to untangle my thoughts and feelings about London Marathon. And I haven't really talked about it because of that. So I'm still not really sure. I really, really enjoyed the training. So I've been working away a lot this year doing yarn festivals. I was so committed to that training. Like, if we were away, like we were down in Bedford and all sorts, I was setting that alarm for 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, before going and doing the full day of work and interacting with the public and all that kind of thing, which is exhausting in itself. I was so committed to the training, and I enjoyed having an excuse to be that regimented with it. I really, really enjoyed it. So by the time I got to the start line, I was really, really proud of myself already, to be honest, because I knew I'd put the work in. But on the start line, I had a bit of a surprise because I was literally at the back of the race. So I put my expected time down as, I think I said 7 hours. I just didn't know what to expect. So, yeah, I put my time down 7 hours, knowing that the rough kind of isn't a cut-off. Well, there is and there isn't. It's a bit vague.
I don't think there is anymore. Yeah, I think they've changed it. Maybe I think they got a bit of flack a few years ago.
Yeah. So I'd expected to start kind of ahead of the people at the back
Yeah.
and with people roughly of a similar pace. We all found out when we got there, what they do is, I think they set off, the faster runners are in order of the hours predicted, but then they reverse them. So I think it must be after 5 hours. They then go 8, 7, 6. So the 6s and 7s are literally at the back of the entire London Marathon, which is a very strange experience. So people were kind of like looking around going, what did you put your estimated time as? It's not a problem, but why are we at the back? Because there is, you could see like the 8-hour pacer up ahead.
I wonder in the I'm not defending London Marathon, but I wonder if they thought if they do that, then they'll have a whole group of people finishing roughly the same time.
I think that's exactly why they've done it. And that makes sense, but I wish I'd known before.
Yeah.
That's all. Just in terms of managing expectations, I think it would be useful to know that. But what it meant was that I spent the entire race passing people. And so I was never with the same people at the same time. There was no camaraderie at all. The crowds were amazing. They were still there for the last runners, which I thought was just, it was wonderful. But the first half, it was fine. But then from about halfway, I don't know, I found it was quite cold. It was like 12 degrees, which is really cold for me. Oh, I passed one of the paces and I think she was maybe like 7:15. This got me running faster. Okay. So she had a group of people around her. And I know it was very well intentioned, but she was shouting really loudly. And I won't shout, so you have to imagine this really loud. 3, 2, 1, we're running. And then like 30 seconds or a minute later, 3, 2, 1, we're walking. And she did that the entire time, really loud, top of her voice.
It's not for me, but that's dedication. My goodness me.
It is. And it clearly worked for the people who were staying with her. Yeah. That's fine. But for me, it was a nightmare. And I was like, well, I've got to hurry up now because I need to get well away from her.
We all want to know now, Victoria, what time did you finish in?
I caught up with the 6-hour pacer, kept up with him. And I came in at 6 hours and 14 seconds.
Oh.
Amazing.
Amazing.
I was absolutely chuffed to bits because I really thought it would take more like 7 hours. I was really, but my God, it destroyed me.
Yeah, that concrete.
The DOMs are real. Whoa.
Right, is there?
Oh my God, that concrete. Don't do that again.
It still destroyed my toes. What's that about? No hills.
Talk about that.
Love a road marathon.
Gary's dripping, is salivating talking about it.
But it's fascinating what you say, though. I have those conversations. Now, I'm a little bit further up the field than you, but we have these conversations like, what time did you put down? I remember Great North Run. So it does happen, right through the field. And I remember, again, I've run beside people. Berlin Marathon, little guy in hot pants with, I think, Britney Spears on his little Walkman on his arm so we could all hear it. I couldn't wait. To get rid of it.
It's amazing. It's amazing what annoys you when you're running as well. I've had a guy with clinky cup, a cup hanging on his bag, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just on a normal run you would notice it, but
slapping feet. It's another one.
Jingling coins in a pocket. What the hell?
What is that about? Why have all your change in your hydration vest? That drives me mad.
Victoria, we've only touched on the surface really of your life and what you've been through. I think we might have to have you on annually. What's happened this year? Catch up. But I think there'll be a lot of people listening that will recognize parts of your story, perhaps in their own story as well. The sort of triumph over adversity and finding running in their life and it being both a joy and also a heartbreak in both ways, as we all know. What would you say if there's anybody who's perhaps running along or walking or is thinking, listens to the podcast and is like, I just listen because I love Eddie and Gary, I suppose. What would you say to anyone who might be in your position like 5 years ago and you're the one and they think, should I go for a parkrun? Should I enter that?
Just go for it. Get out the door. That's the hardest part. Get out the door. Find friends to go with if you can, or if you prefer being on your own, then go on your own. Start walking. try a few steps of running. If you get out of breath, take it back, walk again. When you're ready, have a little run. And consistency will get you where you want to be. And tiny, tiny chips. I think it was you, Eddie, that said on a podcast.
Probably. If it's very wise, what you're going to say, then it was.
Don't say Victoria. A nightmare.
It was about 10,000 chips.
Hours. Yeah. Hours. Yeah.
And like chipping away at a sculpture, and you're just kind of like taking all those little chinks, and eventually it becomes a thing. And it's baby steps, consistency, and set yourself a mad goal, because you never know, you might achieve it.
And don't put it off, and you mentioned about joining athletics clubs. Don't be scared. They are welcoming, phenomenal
The first
places.
time is always the worst.
I was terrified.
It's always doing anything. I hate doing the first time. But then you love it after the first time.
Do it in the body that you've got now. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to wait until this, that, and the other.
And love the body that you've got now. It's a constant, well, for me especially, and I'm sure it's the same for 99.9% of us, men and women, it's a work in progress to love your body. For some reason, I don't know why I don't love my body.
Impressive, really, aren't they?
Every day I have to be like, thank you, body. Go past in the mirror. And instead of looking at my saggy stomach and droopy bottom, I'm like, yeah, you do this. Yeah, girl, those butt cheeks, they get you up that mountain, and that stomach, you got those 3 idiots.
Before I say it, can I just pay a little bit of credit to, it was the sweeps on the Lakeland Trails 55k, Paul and Alistair. I just hope they know that they opened a door for me, because for various reasons I was out with the cut-off time. It was a blazing hot day. A lot of people had DNF'd. I was having an absolute ball. It was the best day. I absolutely loved it. And at the halfway point, I actually didn't realise I was like 10 minutes past the cut-off. Somebody said, you need to stop. And he sort of said to me, now, have you really carefully considered what you're doing here? And I was like, the hell are you talking about? Because I didn't realise I was past the cut-off, and I was having a great time. I knew I could do the rest of it, definitely. And these 2 sweeps came in and they said, look, keep going. We're happy to stay out on the course. We're training for something else. It's a beautiful day and turning into a beautiful evening. So they persuaded them to let me carry on. And they said to me, look, just keep eating, keep drinking, keep moving. We'll stay back over here. We're not getting your way, but we're here if you want us. Go get it. And they were amazing. And I just think if I'd have been forced to pull out, there's every chance that I might not have maybe had another go at another ultra. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, again, serendipity, isn't it? Just meeting the right people and them supporting you, and it opening doors into so much other stuff, kind of enabling you to find out how strong you are. They just really deserve a lot of credit.
A big love. What was their name? Paul and Alistair?
Alistair and Paul, yeah.
What year was that? Which the Lakeland Trails 55k
2022.
2022, Power of the Podcast. Paul and Alistair, if you're listening, or you've got mates that are listening.
Punk Panthers and Ultra Trails as well. Also my 2 other favourites. Like, the support you get on those races is phenomenal.
That's one of the reasons why we love having them on board on the podcast.
Yeah, they support the podcast.
We truly believe that the work that they do, we're all in for that. We're all in for inclusivity. Inclusivity, is that word? Inclusivity. Civicity. But we're all in for races being for everybody. The fast, speedy, the medium paced muckers, and anybody that's everybody should be able to do. There shouldn't be. I mean, I understand the point of cutoffs and times and things like that, but also there's a time and a place for that as well. And your sort of stories, Victoria, is exactly why races like that should be supported, and we should all support races like that. Right, you thought we delved a little bit deep then. This is my God, Gary. This is very topical if you listen to the news, if you read the papers. There's a lot of this going on in government at the moment. So
I'm worried now.
Do you think these are going to be on the menu at the Houses of Parliament?
Absolutely not. They probably have pickled sardines or something.
Caviar. Anyway, you might have seen Max King turned his nose up at cheese and pickle sandwiches, and we had a poll on our Facebook group. What's it for you, Victoria? Is it fun times or sad times? The cheese and pickle sandwich.
Sad times.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry.
We're going to do these first next week.
Because I wouldn't have bothered, Gary. If I'd known, I wouldn't have bothered. I wouldn't have listened.
I've got a bad internet connection.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, Victoria. Bye.
Bye.
What's wrong with the cheese and pickle sandwich?
I mean, apologies, this is
Come on, spit it out.
too much info, but I get really, really constipated on ultras. So bread and cheese just sits so heavy in my stomach. I just would be in a lot of pain.
Okay, we'll take that. I'll allow
and
that.
then the pickle, if it's like acidic, that's going to make me feel sickly as well. Oh, no.
More for us, Eddie. It's fine.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'd make them. We'd be running together, Victoria, and I'd be like, "Do you want one?" You'd go, and I'd go, "Great."
Right.
Push you over.
Well, we might need our smartphones for this. Do you remember what your last purchase from Amazon was? Let me just have a check.
Let me just have a quick...
Mine's going to be horrendous.
It's usually really boring business stuff.
We love the really boring business stuff. We live for that. Oh my gosh.
No, I'll tell you what it is. Actually, no, this is a good one. It's an OS map for Loch Gilpert and Knapdale North, which is where I was on holiday last week.
Oh, that is a good one.
I always buy an OS map.
I love an OS map.
I love a map. Yeah.
Oh, I love a map. I love a map. Mine was baking trays.
Oh, nice.
European plugs. Lots of European plugs.
I've got Jen Scotney's latest audiobook.
Oh, yeah.
A Hoover.
Wow.
Oh, Jen Scotney's.
Oh, you're living.
Favourite quick meal. Eddie and I, we've done Northern Traverse Recce and we've got a bit lost. We've ended up at your house, Victoria, banging on the door.
Oh, my God. We really have got lost and it's all your fault.
Yeah, favourite quick meal. The reason why I say this, last night we had microwave Hogan rice, tin of mackerel and some salad. And that was literally 5 minutes.
If Victoria gives me that, I'm back out the door.
No. And it was like literally 5-10 minutes and it was a healthy, nutritious meal.
No.
It was lovely.
Mackerel, no.
I haven't made a quick meal in a really long time because we tend to use the slow cooker.
Oh, give us a good slow cooker then.
Yeah, can I put the slow cooker on for you?
Yeah, I've sent you a message because I realise we're heading your way because Anna.
In that case, it'll be maybe creamy garlic chicken, and you could have it with potatoes or pasta, a bit of salad, veg.
So do you I've got a slow cooker, but I like everybody, it's sitting in my cupboard.
Loft.
Not much used. Did you just chuck that all in?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now. Yeah, chuck it all in. You put whatever you want in it, leave it all day. Come back to it. You've got a meal.
I need to get onto this, don't I? Yeah. Next week. Not next week. Let's not lie. I haven't even unpacked the Hoover yet. Let's go week after.
Cooking with the Suttons next week on the podcast.
Cooking with the Suttons. How long does penne pasta, pesto, grated cheese, some peas if you're lucky?
Are we technically winter yet, or is it still autumn?
No,
I'd say
still autumn.
What's your favourite season of the year, Victoria?
I like them all. I do. I really, really like them all. They've all got pros and cons. But for me, it's summer because I run cold. So I've also got an underactive thyroid. And although I'm on medication for it, I never got rid of that coldness. So I really feel the cold and I quite struggle to cope with it as well.
Okay.
So I love winter, but I just wish it wasn't actually cold. It looks fine.
I hear you. Yeah, it looks
I'm in my running gloves. I'll put my running gloves on now. They won't be coming off now until probably June.
So summer, because I can go out without worrying about getting cold. And I love it. I absolutely love the summer. Give me a hot day for an ultra and that's it.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Victoria, if you need to take the yarn business to Portugal or Spain or something.
They're not cold enough to be buying yarn because it's wool. It's all wool based.
You have got a very good point there. They like the sort of little cashmere
string vest.
Yeah.
String first.
Every week we share this podcast over on Instagram. What is the Instagram story music going to be, Victoria? It's your choice.
This is something I've always thought about, which is really sad, I know, but it's
No, not at all.
those things where I've always thought, you know, when you kind of like towards the end of your run and I thought, I'll entertain myself by coming up with my Instagram music. As you do. I always thought it would be The Prodigy, something by The Prodigy, because they're my favourite band. I love a rave. You know, if I'm listening to music, it's electronica, it's rave, it's that kind of thing. But this is a real U-turn.
Where's this going? I don't know where this U-turn's going.
I'm a really big fan of Never Forget by Take That.
I loved where this is going. Gary's dying inside.
You know the chorus? I don't even know.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah.
When I was running, when I was on the Yorkshire Wolds Ultra, this year I absolutely smashed my time from last year, because last year I did it with prolapse discs and really severe sciatica. I had a good time, but was in a lot of pain. This year, smashed it. And I got to 50k when I was high up on the Wolds near the end. The sun was breaking through the clouds and I got an amazing view, and I got a text from my other half, Dave, and he said, Grant says you're going to beat your time by potentially 90 minutes, like your time last year. And I stopped and I texted back and I went, yeah, you better believe it.
Oh, you better believe
right.
it, Dave. Don't you mess with me.
Yeah, at that point it was like, yeah, I'm well aware, and I absolutely plan to. You know, because at that point you've only got a few miles left. You might as well just leave it all out there.
Yeah.
But before doing that, I paused high up on the Wolds, took in the view. The sun was breaking through the clouds, and this popped into my head. And I think the chorus, never forget where you've come here from. Never forget where you've come here from. Never pretend that it's all real. Someday soon, this will all be somebody else's dream. And that's it. And I stopped, had a little sob.
I bet. I hope you carried on then. You had 90 minutes. Didn't want to disappoint Dave then. Yeah. Get that phone away.
I just absolutely hammered it all the way back after that. Because at the end of the day, however hard we are on ourselves, this is somebody else's dream. We should be doing it for the people who can't do it, the people who can't run. Sorry. Oh. My godfather's one of those people. He used to be really, really athletic. Can't do it anymore. When that pops into my head, it's just like, oh, I'm just gone. Yeah. Because it's somebody else's dream. Whenever I post about my running on the business page, which is quite rare, I try not to, the number of people who say, I wish I could do that. And we are hard on ourselves. We've normalised this mad thing that we do of running really far. It's not normal. It is somebody else's dream.
It's easy to take it for granted sometimes, but you're right.
You can have that, but after that, you promised me a party. You can play all the Prodigy you want after that, but you need
There we go. Okay, we'll open the floor. We'll probably get Gary Barlow along because he's
a listener.
Big fan.
Patron.
Big fan. Legend patron. And he'll open the show, and then him and I can go and have a private moment probably while you guys play Prodigy and stuff. Victoria, it's been a total joy to meet you in person on Zoom.
That's relit my fire, Victoria.
Chat. In the words of Take That, you've relit our fire. We loved your story. We loved hearing about you and being able to put a bit more of the story to the name we see popping up on Facebook, and having known that you've listened to us from, oh my gosh, how many?
Very beginning.
Original OG.
OG. That makes it all most special. Keep in touch and let's have a Victoria Take 2 next year. With your next challenges, and we'll hear where your journey goes from there. But meanwhile, we've got your back. Keep keep on trucking, and we got you back.
Yeah. Was that not deliberate?
No, I know. It's just,
Yes, it was, Eddie.
Yes, it
on
was. We got
fire.
you back. We love it. Thank you so much for giving up your time to tell the story. And I'm sure you will have inspired everybody who's already running, and perhaps those people that, perhaps lots of people say their partners listen in the car, and they're like, I can't do that. Just get out that playing field, jog to the bench, jog to the goal. When you feel sick, take a pause and start again. Chip, chip, chip. Big love to you, Victoria. Keep in touch, and we look forward to seeing what 2024
Thanks, Victoria.
holds.
Thank you for having me. It's a real privilege.
Been a pleasure. Thanks. Talk about not accepting no for an answer. Yeah, truly inspiring, Victoria. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story so far.
I love that so far. What's next?
Thanks, Phoenix Light, for sponsoring our Strava Club and Tales from the Trails section. And don't forget, patrons can enjoy 10% off over at www.phoenixlight.co.uk. I've been hustling again, Eddie. I reached out to Phoenix and they said, yes, they're going to supply the prizes for our next
good
comp.
Guy. I don't care what people say, Gary. You're a good guy.
Don't listen to them. 2 of the awesome HM65R-2-T version 2, which, 1,600 lumens will be up for grabs once we get our 13 Valleys competition out of the way. So watch this space. First up in the Strava Club, Joe Turner, request to follow. Impressive stats though, Joe. So, oh, goodness me, mind-bending numbers. 107.2 miles for the week. Longest run of 20.2 miles. I don't normally share the average pace, but this is a flex. 6.53 minute mile in average pace for the week, Joe. Oh my goodness me. 1,772 feet. Toby Staines is up next. Yeah, some time in the bike, some time on his feet. Love mixing it up. And I saw a Peloton workout too. You've never done a
cross-training workout, so don't even go. We saw that bike. It sat behind you for about 4 years.
But I've never done it. So you'd follow along and you just do what the instructor says, or are you kind of independent work? You've never done it either. I'm really curious.
We need Susie Chan. She's the queen of Peloton, isn't she?
Oh, yeah. I do see that occasionally.
I would love that to be my job, to go in the studio. But there's a big, big problem.
They're very glamorous.
It's very glamorous. I didn't even need to tell you, did I? I can't see them. I turn up
the energy,
the audition. Sometimes on a good day, if I'd had my protein bar, I could bring the energy, but I'd be like, oh, you wanted me to wash my hair? Oh, there's this four.
I've got to get changed.
And you want the outfit coordinated? This is just an old t-shirt. Yeah, I've had this for like 15 years. And it's a bit stinky. You want me in a crop top? Absolutely no way. There is no way. People would be describing from Peloton when they saw my flabby midriff.
I'm sure they wouldn't. But yeah, 53 miles of the week for Toby. Longest run, 19.3 and 2,766 feet of vert. Last up, Matthew Carver. Yeah, I love Matthew's week. Running, bike, treadmill, weights, stair mill. It's a stair mill, same as a stepper, stairmaster, and running around Berlin too. I love an international run if you're going away or traveling to go and explore the city. Yeah, 55.4 miles a week, 14.2 long run, 568 feet of vert. Got a couple of heavy flexes this week.
You're taking liberties with the heavy flex section.
I would be remiss if I didn't give my
everybody loves your bestie. Let's give them a big heavy flex.
Yeah, Robbo and Reese, they were in a team, like a relay team, smashed it. Sunderland Strollers Urban Ultra, first place.
So they had to run separate as like a relay, was it?
Yes.
I'd like to do a ultra, but like team of 5. So you have to play out to everybody. So you have to bring home that 5th person, which would probably be me, the puker.
Well, one of my fondest memories of a run was the Hard Miles 110 relay.
Yeah, but then you're on your own. So it's like...
Yeah, but your crew do pop up and you keep your company every, whatever, 5 miles they did pop up.
How far was the Sunderland Strollers Urban Ultra?
I haven't got... I don't think it was massive. I think
he's your best friend, but you've not really...
I think it was like 30 odd miles, like 50k or something. And it's nice, it's an urban ultra. Even as a northerner, there'll be loads of trails there, which I've never been on. So yeah, I should actually sign up. I went for the Sky News for my history. The Guardian for my running facts this week. 38-year-old Terry Rosamond created some sensational Strava art. Basically, he created a massive cock and balls as he ran 75 miles across the Welsh mountains, formerly known as the Brecon Beacons. Terry completed in less than 24 hours to raise money and awareness about men's mental health issues for Movember.
And then I loved his pose. I'm looking, you know, the pose he does by his picture. That's what the pose I want you to do in your new car for me in those shorts.
It's never going to happen. But yeah, either way, it's sensational. Heavy flex. Well done, everybody. And kudos to all our Strava Club members. And if you'd like to be with a chance of a random shout out, pop over to Strava, search for Tea and Trails and join our Strava Club. Tales from the Trails.
The George Fisher Tea Round, a 30-mile route with 12,000 feet of elevation, starts and finishes at the George Fisher Outdoor Shop in Keswick. It is variously described as an exciting route which includes all of the tops that can be viewed out of the cafe window, or perhaps more accurately, an objectively stupid route by Hannah Rickman. In early summer of this year, some of our running gang, the Bogsnails, decided that the tea round might be a fun day out. A date was set and plans were made. As the date approached, some of the wiser Bogsnails decided that due to injury, other commitments, common sense, they were not up for the tea round. These sensible people formed a Plan B group, which left a group of 3 of us, all with experience of running long distance in the fells, up for completing the round on the agreed date. We arrived at Keswick at around 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. This rather relaxed start time was probably the first indication that we had completely underestimated what lay ahead of us. The first couple of peaks, Catsbell and Robinson, passed without incident. A beautiful sunny morning, incredible views, and comments exchanged with passing runners and walkers about how lucky we were to be on the hills. I love that at the start of a long run. Interject, Eddie here. When you're fresh and you can talk to people going past, and then you get to like 10 hours and you're like, oh, I can't even look at you. Oh, I hate myself. Anyway, we enjoyed a leisurely, possibly too leisurely, stop at Gatesgarth for ice lollies and cold cans of Coke, and then began our ascent to the third peak, High Stile. This is where things started to deteriorate. The long, steep, boulder-strewn climb up High Stile took longer than expected. We were in the clag at the top, and the path down from Red Pike was relentless. Halfway down, one of the group took a nasty tumble. Viewing her lying at the side of the path, I was momentarily convinced that a call to mountain rescue would bring the day to a premature end. However, with the damage somehow limited to a snapped pole and a bruised hand, she valiantly rallied, and on we went. We passed through Buttermere at around 5 p.m, with the first half of the route having taken us around 8 hours. Around this time, photos started to filter through from the Plan B group, who appeared to have had a lovely day out in the hills and were presumably now home, showered and enjoying their evenings. Ever the optimists, we decided, based on no evidence whatsoever, that the second half of the round would definitely be quicker than the first, and we began to climb out of the valley and towards Whiteless Pike. Somewhere on the climb, we disappeared back into the clag, which we would remain in for the next 6 hours or so. Despite the deterioration in the weather, our spirits remained high. However, it was becoming apparent that we might lose the light at some point. Discussion revealed that, having expected to be finished well before night fell, only 2 of the 3 of us, oh dear, had bought head torches. The third will now never leave the house without a head torch again. We ground out Grisdale Pike, Hopegill Head and Eel Crag, deciding that we would get over Sale and down to Sale Pass and decide there whether to DNF and head back to Keswick, or whether to carry on and try to complete the round. At Sale Pass, after much deliberation, the decision was made that we would carry on. Shortly after that, we finally emerged from the clag and into the twilight to see the lights of Keswick twinkling in the distance. This and the knowledge that there were only 3 peaks standing between us and the doors of George Fisher gave us a much needed boost to our flagging spirits. Causey Pike and Rowling End were steadily completed, leaving us with an unpleasant bash down through the heather and an ascent of Barrow before the last few miles into Keswick. Near the top of Causey Pike, we had been shocked to find it was almost 11 p.m. Quick texts were sent to bemused partners at home to ensure them were all as well, but it was just taking a little bit longer than expected. I had my first real low point just before the ascent of Barrow, the 10th and final peak. Having cheerily slogged my way through the whole day up to that point, I inexplicably suggested to the others that I wouldn't mind if we didn't do Barrow. Thankfully, they told me that the quickest way back to Keswick was in fact to do Barrow, and after, here we go, some round-saving baby bells and a drink from the stream, I rallied and we began the last climb of the day. The joy, borderline hysteria at reaching the final peak turned into grim determination as we trudged out the final few miles back to Keswick. Spirits were maintained with the usual mix of nonsense jokes and, in an unexpected turn of events, quoting from Jimmy Nail songs. We managed to shuffle back through the streets of Keswick to finally touch the doors of George Fisher at 1:20 a.m. on a Monday morning. The round, which we'd expected to take us around 12 hours, had actually taken more like 16. We eventually got back home to Lancaster sometime around 3 a.m. The sky was lightning, the birds were singing, and 2 out of 3 of us needed to be up before 7 to get kids ready and out to school, then complete a full day at work. All in all, a day that will stay in the memory for a long time. Mistakes made, lessons learned, and probably more jeopardy than a Sunday out in the hills really should have. But a day full of laughter and determination spent with like-minded running buddies who thankfully didn't let me quit when we only had one peak left to go.
Does the baby bells cancel out the no head torch? Sensational nutrition.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Somebody had thought about baby bells. Like, don't worry about the head torch. We'll forgive you for that. But you'd pat the baby bells. So baby bells got you up Barrow. I love it.
I'd love to do that. George Fisher tea round.
Give yourself plenty of time, Gary. It's pretty 24 hours.
Probably would.
We love your tales from the trails. Keep them coming in. Send them to us at hello@teaandtrails.com. Don't forget to mark in your subject deals from the trails.
The hot reviews keep flooding in, Eddie. Got quite a few. We're going to do two this week.
Ooh, greedy, Gary.
Hilarious, Mike. Here's another 5-star review. That is it. Oh, just don't mention cheese and pickle sandwiches again. Next review is from Timmy Spoon via Apple Podcasts. Mint. Oh, I used to say mint all the time as a kid.
The Cavilles, they are the mint factory. Whenever they come and say, the kids always start going, mint. That was mint. It's a great word. We should use it more. Let's use it more. Mint.
I started listening to the podcast 2 years ago, and since then I've binge listened to the full back catalogue and loved it. As a fell runner, normally doing short races and buffer series, now feeling inspired and mad enough to try an ultra. An attempt at a Frog Graham round next summer. I obviously heard about the Frog Graham round, but I'm not 100% sure of I know there's water involved. Is it the same route as the Bob Graham, but you're taking
I don't know the route,
too?
but there is swimming and running. I definitely know that.
Mr. Google could help me out there. Keep up the good work and happy trails. Thank you so much. Thanks for all of your 5-star reviews. And yes, please keep them coming in. It really does help us grow and get in front of like-minded trail runners.
You got 10 days, kids, to get your entries in. The team over at 13 Valleys are supplying the prize for our latest competition. Super generous, super awesome prize. You and a friend could win a place for either the 2, 5, 7 or 13 Valleys. Gary loved this race. We want you to love it too. You don't have to do the same race. I think you should. What you need to do, like the pinned competition post, share the pinned competition post. In the comments, pop a picture of you and your trail buddy who'd like to share the prize with. Tag your mate in too. La-di-da. That's all you need to do. We're going to pick the winner at random because we can't make a choice. 18th of November. So you've got just over 10 days. Thanks to everybody. If you just want a little pick me up, go and check out all those lovely people popping their names of their friends in all their lovely runs they've had. Go and have a check out. We love these competitions. Kudos and thanks to 13 Valleys for supporting our competition. What's coming up? What you doing? What you doing this week, Gary? What you doing? What's the plans?
The comeback continues. Same as last week. Easy miles, 2 strength sessions, although I've not done any yet. I've left it a bit too late and I really don't want to go to the gym and smash my legs up for a hopeful lakes trip. We're not hopeful, a definite lakes trip on Friday. So I'll do my home strength session. I don't seem to suffer from DOMs from that. And if I do go to the gym, that will be at the weekend. But yeah, lakes trip on Friday.
What's the route?
I did think about, I've not reached out to Shane, but this Tea and Trails Ultra.
No, we're doing that together. Don't go and ruin it.
Well, I've not
Such a
reached...
man.
I don't know. Obviously we're both doing 2-day events, so there might be something involved with that. Could be just completely random. Let Robbo
Do you want to join us for a few miles on the Pennine Way?
No, you're okay with that. Thanks for the offer. Hopefully, last time I went to the lakes, I buried myself for...
You did.
Wow,
but
2
that
weeks.
Was stupid.
Fingers crossed. I don't want to do that again. And like I said, heart rate variability is finally in the green. It's been in the green for a few days. If I can come away from Friday...
Eat.
Yeah, Saturday, if I wake up Saturday and the numbers look good, I will be pumped. What about you?
I've got a venture coming up. I've gone venturing with my bowels. I wasn't going to go. I was flaky, makey, dakey, lakey. And I backed out and went, I'm not coming, guys. I can't. I haven't got the time. And then I had in my training plan, I'm going to do back-to-back long days this Thursday, Friday. And so I just thought, I need some friends, Gary. I need to see some people.
Those miles will pass so much.
Oh my gosh. I thought going out and running 30 miles one day, 20 miles the next day by myself. That would be sad time.
Great content too. Great content.
And so I am going to meet some pals. We're going to run on the Pennine Way. I think I'm the only one not doing the spine. No, I think there's a couple of, but they might be spine. They might be wanting to do the spine. I'm not sure I ever want to do spine again. I was like, I'm a bit sad because I would like to spend that time doing the Winter 200 recce, but I can't get down there and back again. This is not on my doorstep, but I can drive. But I can get some great miles in, and with, like you said, with company, fueling, pack carrying, relive. We're doing some nice bits. We're doing the nice bits. We're doing the second half of the Pennine Way. So it's going to be mega. And I'm with people that they love these mega long days. I'm not so hard into such, like I can run 3 times a day. Can we break it down and have little stops? So I just going to keep, like you, Gary, I'm just going to keep eating and hope that I can keep up.
You don't have to mention names, but how many going on this trip?
10 of us. 10 of us. All girls.
Yes.
Yeah, baby. Can you imagine the chat? That is going to be brilliant. It's going to be I will share what I'm allowed to share, but I know that it's going to be fun. Just what I need. Yeah. I was like, I don't have time. I was flaky, said, I'm not coming. I don't have time. There's too much to go on at home. Like anybody who knows, who is the main parent who does the kids admin, that when you have to hand that over, writing it all down can be epic in itself. But I thought, no, come on, do it. It's good for me.
So what's the logistics? 3 days. Yeah, how's that going to pan out?
3 days. So we are meeting in Dufton, some of us, and then running to, I don't know, Gary, I'm just here for the good times. And then running somewhere. We're doing 2 big days. But we're doing the best bits. To me, Dufton onwards, that is up to Dufton on the Pennine Way. Could take it or leave it. I wouldn't, even if I ran the spine again, I don't think I'd ever run that bit, not in the race again. Yeah. But then from Dufton, I guess, but we're going to miss out Hike Up Nick, which is great. Then we're going to go over Crossfell, down into Alston. I try not to be the whining one in the group, but that tends to be my go-to personality.
I'm sure I'll find out. I'm sure I'll find out.
You will. Oh my God, there's going to be a secret WhatsApp group I'm not in that you're in that goes,
Glass.
Oh my God.
How are your dogs with fireworks? Sorry, it's very topical. Okay,
we didn't have any fireworks around here. I didn't go to any, and we don't live anywhere near. I know. Same with Halloween. Don't do Halloween. I call it begging. I'm not sending my kids out begging.
Put a pumpkin outside?
Nope, nothing.
Oh.
It's a commercialistic. What is the point of it, Gary? I'm not spending money. It's bad for the environment.
I always thought it was good to leave your pumpkins in the woods, but then I saw somebody else saying, don't do that. I think it was the little hedgehogs. They're not down with the pumpkins, but they'll eat them.
Not down with the pumpkins. Not adding different foodstuffs into their food chain. To be honest, I had a session to do, I think. So I was like, sorry, kids. Morning comes.
We've got one of those Ring doorbells. Where was it? I was out, and the bloody Ring doorbell kept notifying me every 5 seconds. It was super busy around here.
I think it annoys me because the kids say, so like, how are we celebrating Halloween? I'm like, what do you mean, how are we celebrating Halloween? It's not, what has this become? To me, it's like, I know, come at me. I don't care anymore. I've deleted my Instagram. Do what you want. Poor kids. Everyone will be like, Lady, we're going to send your kids some candy. Poor kids. Those kids get enough candy. They don't need no more candy. Though they did get candy. I'll let you all go soon, finish your runs. They did get, one of them played, so one of them was outraged because his football training was cancelled so that everyone could go trick-or-treating. He was like, I'm trying to be a professional footballer. They played a match the night before and they got like these little funnels the other team had put like loads of sweets in them. I tell you what, Gary, that's gone in my back for the Pennine Way. Thanks, kids. Free sweeties. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thank you all so much. Gosh, so much twittering today. You can tell I've not talked to anyone all week. Share the episode, pop over to YouTube and subscribe. That is the way everybody learns to either love or not love the podcast. We don't mind, but just remember you don't need to listen to it if you don't like it.
Where'd that come from?
Has that gone too depressing? Okay. Still a little bit better.
Like, share, subscribe. That's how we end it.
Like, share, subscribe.
Let the trail rise up to meet you. And the
I haven't thanked the
wind-
sponsors. Wait. Thanks to Presume. I'll read it all again. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you so much for all listening to. Sorry about all the twittering this week, but hopefully it's kept you company if, like me, you don't talk to very many people during the week. Please share this episode, pop over to YouTube and subscribe. That's how we grow and keep showing up week after week. Thank you so much to Precision Fuel and Hydration, Phoenix Light UK, X Miles Beta Run, and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. Remember, new customer discount codes T15 for Protein Rebel and Caps Lock T24 for Precision Fuel and Hydration. Thanks to all our partners and big love to Patreons. We couldn't do this without you and your ongoing support.
Let the trail rise up to meet you and the wind always be on your back. Be kind to future self. Breathe and believe in progress, not perfection. My name is Gary Thwaites.
And I'm Eddie Sutton.
And that was episode 95, the Tea and Trails podcast.